So I want you to know that this session is live on YouTube, so you can always go back to watch it whenever you want. We'll share the YouTube streaming link in the chat box. So we're starting now. So hello everyone, good evening from Nigeria, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Faidat Badamosi, and I'm very excited to welcome you to today's section, day 2 of our webinar, Navigating Graduate School Applications, which we started yesterday. So yeah, this is me, Faidat, a 2019 iScholar and a graduate of University of Ibadan. And something interesting is I volunteer with iSI, and I also serve as the operations manager of iScholar Initiative. This webinar is one of our programs at iScholar Initiative, particularly for students interested in grad school, because iScholar is on a mission to actually mentor and empower young African students in fulfilling their dreams to pursue graduate studies abroad. So we do this by providing funding for their standardized tests and required mentorship support. So we do not just provide mentorship support for iScholars alone. This program for everyone interested. To let you know more about iSI, I'm just going to play a short video. After watching the video, I really want you to let me know what you think about it. Is the audio, can you hear? Maybe I need to reshare. Okay, share some.
Graduate who has a dream to create and contribute to innovations in the world. This requires Frank to continue his education to an advanced level, but Frank does not have the funds as he barely managed to complete his first degree education. Frank gives up on his dream. This is the story of many African scholars. This is why iScholar Initiative seeks to mentor and empower these scholars to bring their dreams to reality.
iScholar Initiative was inspired by a product of life experience and a passion to build an innovative and solution-driven society. Growing up, I learned very quickly how a lack of support system could limit or delay an access to opportunity. I had to struggle financially through every level of education. I'm passionate about education, but nothing in my background was enabling enough to have been able to realize a dream, but my self-determination. But then came a time, the trajectory of my story completely changed just because I was awarded a scholarship. Similar to my story, there are several self-motivated but helpless individuals among our teeming youth in Africa. They only need a modest support in order to generate the much needed momentum in their career journey. This is the key driver behind our passion. This is our story. This is what really brought about iScholar Initiative.
My name is Mayokun Oke. I am a scholar with iSI. At iScholar Initiative, we are a strong advocate of the belief that every dream can be a reality.
Join us. Support the dream. Make a dream reality. Every dream can be a reality.
So that is our iSI story. I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something from it. And we continue to seek support to help young African graduates achieve their dreams. So to the business of the day, yesterday, let's let's talk about yesterday first. So we started with active supervisors, code emailing, where the facilitator shared examples of the introduction, the body of the email, and all that. And we also had a session on writing a winning statement of purpose. Our facilitator was able to let us know what is required in most statement of purpose, and it was able to show us good introductions, bad introductions, and all that. So today, we know that for grad school application, there are so many requirements, and that is why yesterday we started with these first three topics. And so after you've selected your school, you've emailed supervisor, sometimes you need to write the GRE, especially if you're applying to the US or to Canada, you need the GRE. So how do you ace the GRE? I'm sure a lot of us have probably heard the GRE is very difficult. The GRE is very, someone cannot pass. You must probably get someone's help to be able to score so, and so. But our facilitators today, they would take us through acing the GRE, the quant section, the analytical writing section, and the verbal section. So please, I hope you have your notepad and your pen, so you learn the strategies from our, we call them Mr. GRE. So, and then after that, we'll talk about acing the TOEFL, because sometimes you need to submit the test of English, even though we know we've been speaking English when we were in the womb, but some schools still require this from us. Then your CV, we'll talk about developing your academic CV, keyword academic. You don't just use any CV to apply to grad school. You need to make it very focused. So our facilitator will walk us through what an academic CV actually looks like, and the different parts of an academic CV. And finally, when you've done all of this and you've submitted your application, you'd be open to get an admission decision. And for some schools, you have interviews before you get the decision. And whenever you get these interviews, it's almost like you're one leg in. You don't want to lose it because you probably don't know how to ace grad school interviews or something. So our facilitator will take us through acing grad school interviews and also fostering relationships with supervisors. For example, if you have contacted a supervisor this year or maybe this June, how do you keep that relationship with that supervisor from now till next year when you actually receive admission decisions and all that? So I want you to get your notepad, your pen, invite your friends. Please would post the link for you to share with your friends so that they can also be a part of this. It's good to win with your friend, you know. Yeah, I must also remind you that we actually created an ebook that covers everything about grad school from start to finish. We'll share the link in the chat again. You can download this for free. It's a very good book for you if you're interested in grad school applications. So the business of the day would be starting with the GRE. About the GRE. So the GRE is a graduate record examination that is required by a lot of grad schools, not necessarily grad schools in the US or Canada, but most times, yeah, for US schools. And in the GRE, you have different sections and there are different things that they are assessing. So you have the analytical writing assessment, we call it AWA or AWA, the quantitative reasoning, the verbal reasoning. And in a typical GRE exam, you have one analytical writing section. The facilitator will talk more about this. You have two quantitative reasoning sections. The facilitator will also talk about this. Two verbal reasoning sections, and one ungraded section that could either be verbal or quantitative reasoning. So that means you have a total of 6 sections. And you know, that one ungraded section that was mentioned, it is ungraded, but you really don't know, when you're taking the exam, you really don't know which one is graded or ungraded. So you need to do it as if you're grading everything, because you don't want to say, oh, let me guess, is this one that they are not grading? I'm tired, let me just pick anything. You don't want to do that. So I'm going to call on our facilitator for acing the GRE-QUANT section. His name is Ogenetega Ogun Wisdom. His name, Wisdom. This guy is Wisdom. So Ogenetega is a 2020 iSI scholar at Uniben. Uniben graduates in the house. Please say something in the chat box, you know. Tega, interestingly, he had a perfect score in the quant section of the GRE. Tega scored a 170 over 170. I mean, all the marks that you can get in the quant section of the GRE, Tega got all the marks. So you can, you would agree with me that you have the right facilitator to take you through this section, because I know after this section, you'll be so confident about scoring a 170 over 170. I also have my pen and my book here. I don't know, I don't think I'm going to take the GRE again. I don't want to take the GRE again, but I still want to learn strategies from Tega. So Tega, you've got the floor. So I'll stop sharing so you can share your screen. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for that. That was too much. All right, so I will just share my screen. First of all, am I really audible? Like I'm clear?
Yes, you are. Can you hear Tega? Please say something in the chat box.
Okay, so I think they can hear me clearly now. Okay, so I will share my screen. Sorry. So can everyone see my screen now?
Yes, we can see. I can see your screen. I believe they can see your screen.
Yeah, I think they should be able to see my screen now. All right, so my name is Ogenetega, like Faidat has introduced me. And first of all, I really want to thank the iScholar initiative as a whole, the community, the leaders and everybody for putting this program together and for their support so far. All right, so let's just dive in quick to acing the GRE section. And also, Faida, just in case I'm running out of time, please do send me a private chat, all right, so I can quickly finish it up.
Yes, sure, I will.
All right, so thank you. All right, so let's go acing the GRE-QUANT section, okay? Okay, so now before thinking about acing the GRE-QUANT section, the first thing that you have to do, you have to know some things about the GRE first of all. So I call it the prerequisite of the GRE, things that you should know, things that you should have done before even booking your exam date and preparing for the exam. All right, so now the first thing you have to do is to understand the exam. All right, so as easy as this may sound or as simple as this thing is, it is very, very important that you understand the type of exam you are going to write. All right, so GRE is not GMAT, it's not SAT, is not another type of exam. The GRE has its own set of questions, it has its own set of level of difficulty, all right, and it has its own syllabus per se. Okay, so first thing you have to know about the GRE-QUANT section is that it has two sections, all right, so there's the first quant sections and the second quant sections, and each section has 20 questions for 35 minutes. All right, very, very important. So this tells you that the GRE is a time-constrained exam. It's not just an exam. All right, so timing is a critical factor of the exam. So you have roughly 1 minute, 20 seconds per question. Okay, and if you want to get a good score in the GRE, you should be able to finish your two sections within the allocated time. All right, so now, maybe later on, I will give you some materials that you can go and learn about the GRE. I think I will recommend the official guide. So let's just continue and follow the flow. So the first type of questions that we see in the GRE-QUANT section is the quantitative comparison. And most of the times it's actually the first 8 questions. All right, so let me give you a sample of what the quantitative comparison questions are. All right, so that when you see them, you know, oh, this is QC questions. Okay, so the questions are framed like this. You will see quantity A, you see quantity B. All right, so quantity A, we have a value, like maybe a value or a statement, and quantity B, we have a value and a statement. And then you take option A if quantity A is greater than B. That is the value you get for quantity A. If the value is greater than B, you take A. So also for B, if B is greater than A, you take B. And then sometimes the two quantity may be equal, so you take C. And then if you cannot compare, all right, maybe sometimes A is bigger than B, sometimes B is bigger than A, you take D, all right? So if I have time, I will come back to this question and then show some more. Like, this is just to understand the question, okay? So we are understanding the GRE exam, we are not solving anything. So the next type of question that you will see, maybe after that first 8, is the multiple choice, that you have to select just one answer choice for the question. So this is a sample of a question that this answer is just an option. So it's either A, B, or C, or D. You take one, you're not allowed to take 2. And also, there is still the one that allows to take more than 2 answers, more than one answer. It's called multiple choice question, but select one or more answer choices. So you can see this one, you can select A, B, and C. Fine. And I think there's a way you can easily identify them. Once you see these boxes, it means that it is a multiple choice question that you have to select one or more. While if you see the one with circles, it's just one option. All right, so take note of that. And the last one is the numerical entry. I think this is the most difficult aspect of them all. You have to put in a number. If you don't know the number, there's nothing you can do about it. So these are just the way the GRE structure the questions. All right, so now that you've known how the GRE questions are, you know the structure of the exam. Let's continue about the prerequisite. So the next thing you have to do is to take a diagnostic test. Very, very important. This is very, very important because now it's better for you to test the waters before you go for a deep dive, right? So you take a diagnostic test. It's just like a normal test, but probably you can get it from some materials, maybe matter 5 pounds. You just take a sample of the real GRE test, and then you take the test without any prior knowledge, just to see your current position or your current benchmark, and probably your current knowledge, your residual knowledge. All right, so maybe you may have thought that you know algebra very well, maybe from your undergraduate, and you may be surprised that you may even feel more questions in the algebra aspect. So that would direct your attention to focus more on algebra. Okay, so I think one of the things that this test helps you, it shows you your weakness and your strength. All right, so it allows you to focus more on a particular concept that you feed more during this test. All right, so now I've seen I've heard some people say that this test is not really important, just go and study. It's not. So you have to take it first so that you can gauge yourself. Okay, this is my current stand. This is where I am in the GRE. Okay, so I really do not know much about statistics, so I have to spend time reading statistics. Right, so I'm good in maybe combination, so I'm not really spending time. So it helps you identify your strength and weakness. Okay, so you can take that at the end of this lecture. This seminar, I will send you some links, or you take tests and get yourself ready. So the next one, after you have taken this test, the next thing you have to do is to get concept. All right, so now the GRE is a conceptual based exam, and what I mean is that the GRE tests concepts. They don't actually set questions without touching some concepts. So your concept has to be very, very strong in each of these topics in the GRE. Okay, so where can you get this concept? Or what is even this concept? Concept is knowing the fundamentals of a topic. For example, let's take topic like probability. You know everything that has to do with probability. You know when it's probability of and, you know what to do. And then when they're talking about probability of or, you know what to do. Probability of maybe neither nor, either or. So these are the concepts, these are the rudiments. Okay, so you have to know these things very, very well. If not, you'll be so surprised that the questions will actually shake your composure because your concept is not strong, and the GRE questions will test your concept if it's strong or not. All right, so now where can you get this concept? Okay, so now if you are not an engineering student, so I assume that probably your mathematics level is kind of low, so you may want to start with Math and Sys books. Now these Math and books has conceptual knowledge for each of the topics. Okay, maybe algebra, trigonometry, geometry. They will tell you all the fundamentals, all the simple laws, triangles, and everything. Okay, so when you're done with that, then you may want to consider using Matter 5 pounds. All right, so I think somebody is drawing on the screen. Please don't draw on my screen. And then you want to consider Matter 5 pounds, very, very important material. I think it has up to like 1,000 questions, up to. All right, so and also there is other material that is very, very important. It's called the ETS official guide. All right, so now the test official guide is a material produced by the test agency themselves. All right, so this guide will give you a glimpse of what the GRE expects of you. Okay, because actually questions in this guide are real questions that have appeared in similar tests before in the GRE. Okay, so it will let you know the type of questions you are expecting on that day, and it will let you know the structure, right, and also the boundary of GRE questions. You know, okay, GRE cannot say this in a way. GRE said this more often. Okay, so make use of this your official guide, very, very rare. And also Magoosh, I think Magoosh is a very popular platform from GRE. There are a lot of shortcuts in Magoosh. And also you can also watch Magoosh videos. Okay, I think Magoosh has a video of all the concepts in the GRE. Okay, so as a learner, you can learn from this concept. If you don't really know the concept very well, and you're finding it difficult to go back to books, all right, so you can watch videos from Magoosh as well. And also this pattern GRE, the last one, is also a YouTube channel that talks more, or that focuses more on concept. Very, very important. Okay, so you know the concept of maybe speed and time when two cars are approaching themselves. You know how to get the time they would meet. You know, maybe when two cars are moving away from themselves. You know the time to take. You know, those kind of little things, those shortcuts and everything. You will get them in this pattern GRE channel. And also very, very important, GRE.KMF.com is a website that I feel it contributed most to my success in this exam. All right, so GRE.KMF.com has questions that are very, very similar to the main GRE questions in terms of difficulty, in terms of level of trickiness. Yeah, sometimes the GRE question can be very, very tricky. That is why your concept has to be very, very strong. Okay, and also in this GRE.KMF.com, you have access to, it's a free site, right? So you have access to multiple tests. Okay, so you go and explore that site. And also Scholarding, though not free, paid, but then the questions there are more relevant. Okay, I think I can say that Math 5 is becoming obsolete and Scholarding is trending now because the GRE in a way has changed. All right, so I think Scholarding captured those recent changes to the GRE questions, unlike Math 5 that we written some years back. Right, so get your concept very well. And then while getting your concept, there's something you have to have, which is called error logs. Okay. Now the process of writing errors to your log is just like a paper, right? So it's called error logging. So what does it mean is that as you prepare for your GRE, as you solve questions, okay, as you take practice tests, right? So you jot down some common errors you were making. Probably you were making errors of maybe getting the right answer when solving, but choosing the wrong option. Yeah, you can jot that down. I think it happened to me sometimes, right? So you jot that down, and also maybe some simple errors that you may make, maybe when dividing the inequality sign by a negative sign, you forgot to interchange the inequality sign. You jot that down, all right? And also error log can also serve as a log for shortcuts, all right? So, and also some easier means to solving a GRE question. Okay, so you can jot some shortcuts to some question. Okay, maybe this particular question, I was able to solve this question using this shortcut. This means this formula. Okay, so you log all these things to your error log. So sometimes you go through them. All right, so the more you go through them, the more it sticks, and the more you are sure that you're not going to make the same mistake you made during your practices. And all that. Let me tell you something. When you start practicing, you will make a lot of errors. That one is sure. A lot of errors. Okay, so log these errors and go over them again to make sure you don't make them. Okay, and also make use of forums. Now, the most important forum I've heard of or I've seen is called GRE-PrepClub.com. Just go on the internet, Google, search this forum, and you see a lot of questions on this forum. It's just like a community of GRE aspirants. Okay, so you see a lot of different methods, different approach to different questions. Okay, shorter approach. You can even communicate with some guys as well. All right, so and the more you communicate with them, the more you get to learn. Because you may have thought that there's only one way to solve a particular question, but by conversing with these other guys, different countries, you see a lot of shorter means. Okay, so make use of GRE Prep Club forums. And also one thing I like about this Prep Club forum, it allows you to solve questions under time conditions. So you can pause the time, you can play a stopwatch there, and then you solve the question, and then you can keep track of how long you spend in solving some questions. Okay, so it's a good platform for you to practice with timing because there's a time there, right? So make sure you visit that GRE-PrepClub.com forum and register. Okay, so most important of all, you have to take practice tests. very, very important. Like, I cannot overemphasize practice test. Yeah. You know, I've heard people saying that you don't need practice test. Practice test is a waste of time. Just read and go and write the exam. You're joking. So practice test is very, very key because of the fact that somebody raises and sorry, when I'm done, you can ask me a question. Or Faida, can I take questions now?
No, when you're done.
Okay, fine,
we have
fine.
time for questions.
Okay, I have to be very, very fast now. All right, so now here is what you will learn by taking practice tests. First of all, you learn time management. The GRE is not just an exam, it's a time constraint exam. Very, very important. Okay, and also the level of the difficulty of the GRE question is actually a function of time. All right, if you have all the time in the world, you can solve the question, but you don't have all the time, you have just 35 minutes. So by taking more practice tests, you get to manage your time. You know when you are already running out of time. You know probably when you are losing time or when you have time. Do you get? So the more you take practice tests, the more you can manage your time. Maybe you observe that when you are at the 11th question and the time is 17 minutes, you always run out of time. So you have to keep track of these things so that in the day of the exam, you know that almost when it's 11 minutes, I have to have solved this number of questions. Okay, I think in my first section, I think I finished it in 11 minutes, 35 questions in 11 minutes. Right, so I think I remember that one. Right, so where can you take practice tests? Now, ETS have 2 free practice tests that are called Power Prep 1 and Power Prep 2. These are the most important tests. You have to take them after your prep, okay? And then marathon has a lot of practice tests, a lot, like I think 7 or 6. You can get them. I think some of them are even free set. Like Kaplan, yeah, you can get practice tests from Kaplan. Take as much as you can. Crunch Prep, there's Princeton review tests, there's Baron 6 tests. JLS KMF has a lot of tests. So just test yourself, and GRE Prep Club Forum gives you 2 tests on registration. So just go and take more practice and take them as you are preparing. Okay, don't wait for when I'm done, I will take all my practice. Take them maybe weekly, monthly. Let them be a part of your preparation. Okay. Okay, time management is required for the GRE. I think I've explained it already. By taking practice tests, you get to manage your time. Very, very important. And pacing is the key. I will talk more about pacing when I'm talking about the exam day. All right, so you have to learn how to increase your pace. Okay. Now, strategies for acing the exam. So now you've understood the exam, you've gotten your concepts, you've taken practice tests. Now you want to go and write the exam. Now, what are the strategies that you should know before going to write the exam, or maybe there on the exam day? Now, never forget the 2 minutes rule in the GRE. Very, very important. Okay, and the rule is never spend more than 2 minutes on a single question in the GRE. Okay, now if you're solving the question and then it happens that you are spending more than 2 minutes, I will advise you just stop and go over to the next question, because if you spend more than 2 minutes and probably 4 minutes and then you eventually get the correct answer, it will affect the time you are going to spend in some maybe simpler questions. All right. And unfortunately for you, if probably you spend more than 4 minutes and then you still didn't get the answer, so I think I know how you would feel. Okay, so once it's 2 minutes, no matter how you've gone, just keep it. Go over to the next question. Okay, then when you are done already, and then if you still have time, then come over to that particular question. You may even be surprised that it was even a simpler question. Okay, so never spend 2 minutes on each question. You have to learn this thing from taking practice tests. All right, so. And also be calm in the middle of the exam. Just be calm. Even if you are running out of time, try to be calm. You see, if the GRE what is it called? If the GRE can make you feel unbalanced in the exam, then they've caught you seriously, because you can't even read the question. Okay, because there are a lot of traps in this GRE question. So you need to be calm to identify these traps. You have to be calm, because if there's every probability that if you are reading very, very fast, you may miss some important key terms, like maybe they said X is an integer, or maybe X is a number. There's a difference between a number and an integer. You get? So, or maybe they said X is a non-positive value. You understand? So these are some things that you have to be calm for you to pick out this signpost from the GRE. Okay, so just be calm and then read the questions correctly. Okay, don't speed read all the questions. Some questions you can speed read, fine. But in some other questions, try to be calm, okay? You have to be calm. And learn to skip seemingly time-wasting questions. Yeah, you have to learn to skip. Maybe you see that, this question is so long. Look at the question, say, very bulky. Just skip it. Don't worry, you have time. Okay, so when you are done, come back to those questions and settle down and do whatever you can do to that question. All right, so very important, if possible, minimize the use of the on-screen calculator. You have to minimize the use of on-screen calculator. Okay, don't just use the calculator all the time for simple calculation. You take your time, because the time that you're typing maybe 230 plus 480, more time is going, and you can easily do this thing with mental math. Right? So that's why you have to do a lot of mental math. You have to practice doing it. It all comes by practice. Okay, so you stay away from the calculator. Only use it when it's necessary. Probably you are solving some data interpretation questions, and you have to maybe do some percentage. You have to plus this particular decimal number and minus this. Then you can do it, but don't just use it anytime you feel like using it. It will affect your time, and it will definitely affect your score. All right, so minimize the use of the on-screen calculator. And then before sitting for the exam, please make sure to do all official guide questions. Official guide is a book produced by the GRE. So before sitting for the exam, you must do or try to do all the GRE questions. You know, someone once said on Quora that if a GRE applicant should sit in the exam, he must have read the official guide 3 times. Okay, so very, very important, because this is a book that was even produced by who is going to set the test from you. Okay, so by doing all these questions, it will give you a glimpse of how the questions will be on the exam day. All right, so you have to do all the official guide questions. And okay, so some frequently asked questions. So before I talk about these frequently asked questions, Faida, do I still have time? I would really want to touch these questions passage, just to give them a feel of how the GRE is. Okay, so now let's just look at this question. 5 minutes, okay, fine. Yeah, I think I can use 5. So let's look at this question. This is quantity A. They said the least prime number greater than 24. All right, so you know what a prime number is. Okay, so the least prime number greater than 24. So first of all, just list all the numbers greater than 24. I think 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. 29 is the prime number. All right, so quantity A is 29. Then quantity B, the greatest prime number less than what? 29. What is the greatest prime number less than 29? I think it should be less than 28. So the answer should be A. Yeah, I think the answer is A. So that one is that. Right, for this question, now don't think that the GRE questions are kind of easier like this. Oh, no. Now let's look at this question, very, very important. So this question, I think they're saying that the figure above shows the graph of the function f of x. So that's the graph f of x, 4 numbers of x. So for which of the value function defined for all value of x does the graph of g intersect graph of f, right? So what you have to do here is to consider, now what can make a line intersect another line? First of all, if 2 lines are parallel, they will never intersect, all right? So you can see that option C and D are kind of parallel to the line, okay, because the gradient of that first line is 2, right? So option C and D are kind of parallel to that line, so they will never meet, okay? And even if they should meet, the intercept should be greater than 4, okay? So that is when they can meet, right? So you can see that C and D are gone. Okay, now A and B, the gradient is 1 and the intercept is -2 until they can never meet this first line, no matter how you are going to draw it. So the only line that can meet this line is option E. Option E has a greater gradient, which is 3, more bent. So maybe if you draw the line of option C, you see that it will intersect the line of f of x, right? So you can easily take that. These are things that you have to learn, okay? So you may not get it now, but these are some of the concepts, the things that should be in your fingertips for the GRE. You know, this is very, very key. Now, okay, for this one, he said, which of the following are multiples of both 2 and 3? Now, of course, if a number is a multiple of both 2 and 3, it's a multiple of 6. So just take all the options that are multiples of 6, 12, 18, and everything that is a multiple of 6 there. Why this one is, okay, work rate and time. Okay, so I think you are familiar with this kind of question where you have to, if quantity A can do a work in 10 minutes, quantity B can do a work in 15 minutes, how many minutes does it take quantity A and B? So you get the rate of A, you get the rate of B, and then add both of them together, you get the rate of A and B. Now, you know, rate is the inverse of time, right? So when you inverse it, you are going to get the time. So this one should be like 1/10 plus 1/15. Whatever you get there, take an inverse, you get the minutes of the time taken for both A and B to be the question. So quickly, let's go to the frequently asked questions for the GRE, okay? Now, the first question is, how long should I prepare for the GRE? I think it depends on you, okay? If you are maybe kind of good and you have a strong mathematical background and you have a strong verbal background. So you can book your GRE in the space of 2 months. You are fine. Okay, and maybe you really have time to read. Okay, so fine, 2 months is fine, but normally I think we all recommend 3 months. Okay, so 3 months is fine for the GRE. Secondly, what are the best resources for acing the GRE? Particularly, there's no best resources for acing the GRE. What I can say is that use your official guide. My own advice, my own opinion, use official guide, use your GRE.KMF website, use your Scholar-Dean, and use every other material that you come across that you think is valuable to you. You will know, okay? Because there are a lot of materials here I did not list out. For example, Jamboree, very, very nice and stuff too, but I not list it because I felt it was good for me. Okay, so now is the GRE quant section becoming harder? Well, it's kind of what is it called, questionable, but I think it's becoming harder in a way, right? Maybe harder because it becomes more trickier than it was before. Okay, so it depends on you. If you feel it's becoming harder, it's fine, but right on. So on the final note, very, very important, join GRE prep group chat. Very, very important. There are lots of GRE prep group chat on WhatsApp, Facebook, and Telegram. Okay, so when I was preparing for my GRE, all my WhatsApp chat, GRE chat, Facebook, GRE, Telegram, GRE. Anywhere I go, I'm solving questions. Okay, so it keeps you in the moment of GRE, it keeps you in the GRE moment. Okay, you're always solving questions. Yeah, so now be consistent in your study. Don't be like that guy that read today and then before he gets to read for the GRE again on Friday, you will lose it. Okay, there is common saying that if you leave the GRE will leave you. Okay, so be consistent, read maybe 3 hours a day, fine. The next day use 3 hours, the next day use 3 hours. Okay, just try to be consistent. And if possible, have a GRE-QUANT body. Very, very important. I can't really overemphasize this because I mean you can learn a lot of stuff from a GRE body, right? So I think my GRE body is even in this group chat. Yeah, I think one of the speakers as well. So have a GRE-QUANT body, okay? Lastly, so focus on your weakness, solidify your strength. Okay, so focus more on your weakness, like spend time reading about your weakness. For example, then my weakness was combination, statistics, the one that has to do with those percentile, normal distribution, and also permutation and combination as well. So I think I spent time until they became my strength. So I like solving those questions. Okay, so, and also don't forget to solidify your strength. Okay, so you don't lose it, right? So very, very important, focus on your weakness and solidify your strength. So thank you. Maybe if I still have time, I'd like to share the links I spoke about, or maybe later on after the
okay.
Or questions,
yes,
if you have questions.
Please. Yes, they have questions. So you know, it was so amazing how you just ran through those questions in 5 seconds. I wasn't done reading. You already said the answer. So the thing is, I think there are some of us that did not really follow, especially how you solved that very first one of quantity A and B. Please, can you just go back there and sort of subtly explain to us
You
again?
mean this one? Quantity A and B, this one, right?
Yeah, that quantity A.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now they said quantity A, the least prime number greater than 24. Now you know what a prime number is. A prime number is a number that has only just 2 divisors, right? One and itself. Okay. Now they said the least prime number greater than 24. So first of all, let's list all the numbers greater than 24 and see the first prime number greater than 24. So 24, 25 is not prime, 26 is not prime, 27 is on prime, 28 is on prime, 29 is prime. So 29 is the least prime number greater than 24. So quantity A is 29. So write it somewhere as QA 29. Now the greatest prime number less than 28. All right. So we want to know the greatest prime number less than 28. So list all the numbers less than 28. So 28, 27. But I think you don't have to list all the numbers less than 28. You already know that quantity A is 29. And quantity B is any number less than 28. Do you get? So quantity A is obviously bigger than quantity B because quantity A is already 29 and quantity B is the greatest prime number less than 28. Do you get? So quantity B is obviously less than 28. So that was A. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, something
then
like
someone
that.
is also saying that you should please go through the one of function. Yeah.
Oh, this function. Okay,
yes.
Now, like I said, now this is a graph. This graph you see as a V-shaped graph is a graph of this function, absolute of 2x plus 4. All right. Now, they're trying to tell you that, okay, which of this option is a graph you are going to plot that will intersect with this line graph. Now, for a line to intersect another line, first of all, the gradient of one has to be bigger than the other. I don't know if I have time to draw something, but let's just go. So now, as you can see,
just draw it. You can do that if you want to.
Okay, let me quickly open my pen. Sorry, let me quickly open my pen. Let me quickly open my pen. Hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay, like I was saying, maybe this is a line. This is not a line, but let's just say this is a line, for example. Now, the gradient of this line is 2. Now, if this line is parallel to this line, that means that the gradient of this other line is 2. Fine. Now, for a line to intersect this line, it means that the gradient of this line M must be greater than 2, right? Because, I mean, gradient is a change in Y over change in what? X. The more a line is steeper, the more the gradient. For example, the gradient of this line is greater than the gradient of this line. Okay, so for a line to intersect this other line, the gradient of this line has to be bigger than this first line. Okay, or if the gradient is less, the intercept should be greater. For example, this is bad. For example, maybe you have maybe this is your line, and then you have another line that is these are X and Y axis. Okay, now you have another line that has a lower gradient than this line. So for that line to intersect this line, that line has to have maybe bigger intercept. For example, let's say the intercept is sorry, I think I made a mistake here. The line is something like this. Yeah. Now let's say there's a line that has a lower gradient. So the line is something like this. Something like this has a lower gradient. Now the gradient of this line is lower than this line, but then the intercept, like where it meets the x-axis, is higher than the intercept of this line, so they can meet. Do you get? So for them to meet, either the gradient of one has to be bigger than 1, or the intercept of 1 has to be greater than that one, so that they can meet at that point. Okay, so as you can see here, the first line has a gradient of 1. So if you should plot this graph, like just do an estimate of this graph, just a second. So when x is 1, y is, so when x is 0, y is -2. So when x is 0, y is -2. So this is, it start from here. Then when y is 0, x is 2. So this is how the line will look like. To be like this. So this line will never touch the first line. It will never, unless this line has an intercept that is around somewhere here. Okay, so that when you draw it here, it's not intersect this line. So I think that is clear. Okay, so that is that. So as you can see, only option E can actually be a line because the gradient is 3, so it's bigger than gradient 2. So it will definitely touch that line. Okay.
Thank you so much. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to score a 170 if I take this.
Honestly.
Yeah. You know, a lot of people have been asking for your contact, and we've told them to connect with you on LinkedIn. So if you could drop your LinkedIn username or your you can stop sharing your screen. We can see.
Okay.
You're sharing your full screen.
Oh, so let me just unshare my screen. Yeah, let me unshare my screen. I think I'm done.
Yes. So if you could drop your LinkedIn username or your LinkedIn profile link to the chat box for them to connect with you, if you do not mind.
I will do that.
I mean, this has been really, this has been really great. Thank you so much. So someone is asking, what are the strategies? Oh, okay. What strategies can those with little or no proficiency in mathematics and logic adopt in order to ace the GRE?
Okay, I think I mentioned something like that, that if you are a non-engineering student, first of all, I recommend you watching videos. So I think I will send the link. There's a video called Magos video. So it will take you through all the concepts. So even if you are a dummy, you will learn, because they will start from the LCM of 2 and 3, how to get it. Magos will draw those lines for you. Like, you know, those normal lines you used to draw. Magos will do them. So Magos will take you from knowing nothing to becoming an expert. Also, Spartan GRE, yes, they can in some level, yeah, they can. But if you like videos, so start with Margot's videos. And also, you can also start with that Martin's books I spoke about. Okay, so there's a book for algebra. All right, so it starts from the basis. So you have to understand. You just need your time. Once you have the time to look at the book, you have to understand. So get those books and those videos as well. Very, very important. I think I would even recommend videos for people that don't really have math background, so that because the more you watch the videos, the more you feel like, oh, I'm learning. So you cannot go and dive into solving questions with books and everything.
Okay.
Do you understand? So
Thank you
get
so
videos
much
as well.
for
Very,
that.
very important.
Okay. Okay, that's great. So you will try to drop the link. Thank you so much for that response. And then the final question: are there specific questions tailored towards different fields? So this person is saying, I can see that some of the questions are not suitable for those who are in the social sciences
Oh, I
and
think I
humanities
understand.
field.
Now the thing is that yeah, I understand that maybe when it comes to some questions may be more drifting towards those that are kind of good in mathematics. Yeah, I think I can even remember one question that I had to use calculus to solve. Like, I don't really expect somebody that did biochemistry or maybe accounting should know it. But the thing is that there are materials, there are videos, so you will still get come across this type of questions. Okay, yeah. So it's just as if it's a playing ground for everyone. Do you understand? So the
Yeah,
books will address those questions
the
as well.
playground.
It's a playing ground for everyone. But if you come from a good math background, I think you have advantage in a way because you don't really spend time in some other simpler things. But what I can say is that the book are not tailored to say, okay, this book is for only those that are kind of good in. No. The book assumes that you don't know anything. I don't care what you study. This is a book for the GRE exam. So we are going to take you through all what is required for the GRE. You understand? So it's
So
well accounted for.
thank you. Yeah, so the GRE is a standardized test. So
Yeah, I
it's not
forgot to
for
mention
a
that. Very, very
particular
important.
field or something. So thank you so much, Tega. So Babajide asking, is GRE meant for management and finance, or GMAT could be a better? Now you need to check the school you are applying
Yeah,
to. You
exactly.
need to check the requirements to know whether they want you to take the GRE or GMAT, or you can simply email the graduate coordinator so that you'd be sure of which one to take. Different schools have different requirements. That is why you need to contact them. So thank you so much, Tega. This has been very great, and I'm sure everyone that has joined us from the beginning up till now would really, really, really say they've learned a whole lot, and they look forward to scoring a 170 over 170 in the quant section of the GRE. So now we'll move on to the AWA or AWA and verbal section. And this section would be taken by this young man who scored, well, I'm not going to say he scored yet. His name is Adewale Babatunde, and he's a 2020 scholar and graduate of University of Lagos. Unilag people in the house, I don't know. You're all saying University of the First. Well, maybe it's the second then. So University of Lagos. And something interesting about Babatunde is he scored a 332 in his GRE, and he also scored a 170 over 170 in the quant section. So Babatunde is going to be walking us through acing, analytical writing assessment, and the verbal section. Adewale, yeah, I call him Adewale or Babatunde, whichever one. So Adewale, you can share your screen now. I'll stop sharing.
Okay. Okay, yeah. Hello everyone. My name is Adewale Joseph Babatunde. It's a pleasure to be with you all. Firstly, I would like to thank iSI for this opportunity to be able to share this with you all. So let's dive right into it. Today I'll be speaking about acing the GRE, the AWA, and the verbal sections. And let me start the presentation. Okay. Yeah. Please, can you all hear me? Can someone just confirm that you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Please, if you can hear him, say something in the chat box so he knows. And I can hear you, Adewale.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Yeah. So Tega has spoken much about the GRE, same as Fahidat. They've given you guys the breakdown of the sections and the things that you need to do before even saying you want to start the diagnostic text and the other. So I won't repeat what has been said for time, and I'll just dive right into the AWA section, which is the analytical writing section and assessment section, as well as the verbal reasoning section. So now the AWA section, or the AWA section of the GRE, is the first section you encounter when you sit to take the test. And much of my presentation will be about letting you know what you are expected to do on the GRE. So every test, every standardized test has what they are trying to measure. Okay, so it's not just about you reading past questions or watching tutorial video. I think you need to understand what each test is trying to measure, so that you can, put yourself in the right mental frame when you are preparing to take the test. So the AWA section of the GRE is said to measure your ability to articulate and support complex ideas. Okay, they want to know how well you can express, okay, as well as support an idea that you formulate. Okay, they also want to analyze your ability, or assess your ability rather, to examine claims and accompanying evidence, and to maintain a focused and coherent discussion. And also they want to know how well you can manipulate the English language, or control the elements of standard written English. So typically this section requires you to provide focused responses based on tasks presented, so that you can accurately demonstrate your skill in directly responding to a task. So because the GRE is taken by people who are planning to apply to graduate school, and in graduate school you do a lot of writing, you do a lot of publishing and all that. So they want to assess how prepared you are to undertake such a journey where you do a lot of writing. So this is where this is why the AWA section is very important. So now the AWA section comprises of two subsections. We have the analyze and issue subsection, where they give you an issue essay task, and you have the analyze and argument section, where you are given an argument essay task. Each section is timed 30 minutes and graded the score in a range of 0 to 6 with an increment of 0.5 points. That is, on each subsection, the minimum you can get is a 0. That is, you didn't even write the test at all, or you didn't write that section of the test, or 0.5, 1, 1.5, in that increment of 0.5 up until 6. And the final score given to a candidate is the average of the scores the candidate obtains in the two subsections. So let's say you get 4, okay, in the first subsection, and you get 5.0, in the second one. So they average it together, which is 9 divided by 2, and you end up getting a 4.5. So in the event where you get a 4.5 and another 4.5, making it a 9, okay, it's also the same thing divided by 2. So if you hear something like maybe 4.25, okay, they round it up onto a 4. You don't get a 4.5. Okay, they round it down rather to 4, not up. Okay, so yeah. So now the issue essay task, okay, is set to measure a different skill from the argument essay task. Okay, so I think knowing this is very, very essential to preparing well for the test. So according to ETS, what they want to measure by asking you to write the issue essay is your ability to think critically, okay, about any general topic of interest, but more importantly, according to specific instructions, okay? So you'll be given a topic to write about, but then you'll be given instructions about what they want you, how they want you to consider the topic. So also, they want to assess your ability to put down your thoughts under a timed, period. So you don't have all day to write the essay. So they want to assess how well you can quickly put down something coherent, something logical, in a short amount of time. So your task here is to provide your own viewpoints about an issue and to support or critique this viewpoint with examples. So in the following slides here, I'm going to talk about the necessary steps that I think you should adopt when you want to write an issue essay. Okay, this is just my own thinking. So I think the first thing is when the prompt pops up, you first want to think about the prompt. Okay, you want to consider all of the positions that are there to the prompt, and you want to consider if there are other positions that could be taken other than the one you've just currently thought about. And then you want to now organize your thoughts into an introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. So now that you've thought well about the prompt and you've decided the stance that you want to take, and you've thought about other positions as well that might as well be taken, you want to now figure out how you want to start. Okay, and then how you want to now build your body paragraphs and how you eventually want to conclude. So in the following slides, I'll show you how to, start your introduction, how to make your body paragraphs, and as well as how to conclude. So after you've organized it, maybe on your sketch pad, because you'll be given a rough sheet of paper on that day. So you want to just quickly scribble down some things, then you just start scribbling those things down before you now start typing. Yeah, so in introducing you guys to how the introduction, the body paragraphs, and the conclusion should be structured, I want us to just take this particular issue essay task as an example. So the prompt says college students should be encouraged to pursue subjects that interest them rather than the courses that seem most likely to lead to jobs. Now, this is the prompt. Now, the instruction is that you should write a response in which you discuss the extent to which you agree or disagree with the recommendation and explain your reasoning for the position you take. In developing and supporting your position, describe specific instances in which adopting the recommendation would or would not be advantageous, and explain how these examples shape your position. Now, you can see how specific they are about what they want you to do here. So an essay that will get the maximum score on this particular task will be one that addresses all of the things that are spoken about in this instruction. If you just, talk about the extent to which you agree or disagree without explaining your reasoning in detail, you will get a full score, okay? If you just talk about the reasoning also, but you do not develop them fully, or you don't describe specific instances where, they hold and where they do not hold, you also will not get a full score. So if you aim to get a high score as possible, you have to pay attention to the instructions. Okay, I feel like I'm too fast. So I don't know, maybe you should just slow me down if that is the case, because I can be in a hurry sometimes.
Okay, we'll let you know when you're too fast. So if you're too fast, if it's too fast, please say something in the chat box. And if you're following, please say something in the chat box. Thank you.
Okay. Right. Yeah, so how to structure your issue essay. Now, with respect to the prompt we just saw, this is how I think you should structure your issue essay. So your introduction, you should start with a sentence hook. Now, the hook can be a generalization, an anecdote, which is a story or fact. And you want to use transition words to shift from that introduction to the prompt in question, okay? Because you don't just want your essay to be haphazard. You just started talking about an introduction, an anecdote, or a generalization, and the next thing, you're saying, okay, I believe this is this, I believe this is that. So you want to have this sort of flow of fluidity to your writing. And then after you use the transition, you use transition words to shift to your prompt, you want to now present your thesis, you want to talk about your stance, and then you want to provide an outline, okay? So for instance, with regards to the prompts, an introduction should be something like, the choice of one's college major is not a trivial one. In fact, it's not uncommon for entering students to ruminate on this decision for months, perhaps years, and then once a decision has been made, they immediately begin to second guess it, okay? So this is you just, just speaking as a matter of fact that, okay, it's not an easy decision to make about whether you want to go to school to study something because you like it, or maybe because, tech is now the new buzz and you want to just immediately get a tech role once you finish school. So this is just a hook. Now, the next sentence should now be your transitioning. The form recommends that students not belabor this point too long and simply choose a path that conforms most closely to their interests and skills. Okay. Then lastly, your thesis. In my opinion, I strongly agree with this suggestion and argue that students look inward rather than outward when choosing college courses. Then you outline for 2 reasons. Now, about this, I'm going to talk about the resource where I got this from, and also talk about other resources that will be helpful to you guys. So your introduction, like I said, can be anything from a generalization to a story or a statement of facts. And you can see how the author has transitioned to the prompts after making just, a general, not so related statement about the prompts, but ensures to shift immediately to the prompt, to what the prompt is actually saying. The prompt recommends that students not belabor this point too long and simply choose a path that conforms most closely to their interests and skills. Now, the statement of the thesis. Now, when choosing your thesis, there are 4 things you can do. You can either strongly agree or strongly disagree, or you mostly agree or mostly disagree. Now, when you are strongly agreeing or disagreeing, your stance is very, very strong. You are saying, no, this has to be it. There's nothing else other than this. But when you are in the mostly agree, mostly disagree position, you are saying, okay, for the most part, this is it. But there are other instances where it cannot be this. And the same way for the disagree, there are instances where this is not this, but there are instances where this is this. Now, your thesis will actually inform the structure of your body paragraphs. It is important for you to know that. If you are adopting the mostly strongly agree or disagreeing, you might need maybe just 2 body paragraphs, right? And your last paragraph, which is your conclusion, will now contain a particular point where, okay, I'll get to that. Let me not don't know anything. So, but if you're adopting the mostly disagree or mostly agree stance, you will be having, let's say, 3 paragraphs. And okay, I'll get to it in the next slide. So I hope this is clear in terms of what your introduction should ideally contain. Now, the body paragraphs. Now, at least 2 body paragraphs. Now, I put 2 here because the stance taken here is I strongly agree with this suggestion. Okay. So yeah, your body paragraph should typically start with a topic sentence that introduces a supporting idea. Okay. And then after you've had your topic sentence, you want to present an example, an example of okay, why you think this particular topic sentence should actually be taken seriously. And personal examples are not allowed for the examples that you should use. You can give hypothetical examples, but not saying something like, okay, when I was 3 years old, I used to observe a particular man walk down our neighborhood, and no, they don't. That is not allowed. Okay, you can give hypothetical examples, instances that could actually happen, but might not have happened. All right, and then you now want to explain how your example supports your thesis. It's not enough you have to explain why that example is relevant. Okay, this will help them know that yes, you're actually paying attention to what you're being asked to do. Yeah, so this is an example body. Now see what the author did. The topic sentences. Okay, let me read it and then tell you what the author did here. To begin, can you guys still hear me? I just got something.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. To begin, the job market is ever shifting, and one decade's hot job is another decade's dying one. Thus, to choose one's profession based solely on the availability of work is to take a short-term perspective, one that will likely backfire. So this is the author's topic sentence saying that the job market is unstable, right? So you cannot say the hot job of now is still going to keep on being the hot job down the line. And so picking your profession or what you want to study in college based on that is one thing to do, okay? Now, this tells us what we should expect in the following paragraphs, meaning that the author has to convince us that truly, that would be a bad idea. I mean, if we choose to go to college and study courses just based on the market conditions or the job market. Now, the author now says in the example, saying that, for instance, in the 1950s to the 1980s, nuclear engineering, I'm not going to read all of this, not to bore you guys, But for those of you that are paying rapt attention, what the author did here is to tell them that, okay, for instance, in the 1950s, nuclear engineering was a very, very hot field. Okay, it was booming. There were a lot of things to do there, and this and that. Okay, so after that, he now said that now, because of the things that were related to nuclear weapons and all of those wahala, pardon me for the French. So because of all of that, they had to do away with nuclear weapons. And in that field that was booming, they now stopped booming because of that. So people that are choosing to study nuclear engineering, seeing that, oh, because it is booming now, it will come 10 years down the line, they ended up distraught and all that. So that is the example that the author has chosen to use, and was able to also develop it fully. He didn't just tell us that, okay, for instance, in the 1950s, nuclear engineering, he went further to tell us that, okay, but afterwards, because of issues, related to nuclear weapons and all that. So now the third paragraph is now where the author now lets us know that, oh, I didn't put the second, the third sentence or the third sentence block, the one highlighted in green, not the fourth sentence, pardon me for that. So here the author lets you know that the foregoing is not just for play. I put it there for a reason, saying that it illustrates that the job market is highly contingent upon factors, and that if one assumes that he or she is likely to get burned at some point in the future. Okay, so this is how your body paragraph should typically look like. Okay, they might not be this wordy, okay, but they should at least let us know what your topic sentence is for each paragraph. Let us know what to expect when you read all of that body paragraph, and then use examples, hypothetical examples, or maybe factual examples, and then ensure you develop those examples. Okay, ensure you develop them, not left hanging, thinking, okay, where's this person arriving at or something? What is this person arriving at? And then you want to now explain how that example, has a bearing on the stance you've taken. Okay, we want to know, okay, this person has actually thought this particular paragraph through before putting it down. So yeah, your other body paragraph should follow a similar pattern because it is very, very logical, and it will help keep your reader in line with what you're trying to say. So your conclusion for the issue essay. Firstly, you want to, now because this adopted the strongly agree or disagree, stance, like I spoke about earlier, the third paragraph has to start with a counterpoint. Okay, because this person is a stubborn writer, right? Saying never. Okay, he has to, in a way, demonstrate that he's actually a good thinker, that he has considered what other people that disagree with him might be thinking, and he has to show that in his essay. So, you have to introduce that, okay, other people might think this, or some people might, haters might be thinking this and all that. So, but this, they are wrong, they don't know anything, they are ignorant. So it also has to show how the counterpoint does not hold or apply or this and that. And then lastly, he has to summarize and rephrase the key points of the essay. Okay, so now this is a sample conclusion based on the same essay. Now, the first one, of course, globalized economy, competition for jobs has skyrocketed, and thought it is imperative that we pursue practical paths. Now, he has introduced that counterpoint, saying that, okay, other people argue that our economy has become globalized and it's increasingly so, and competition for jobs has skyrocketed. So, it is necessary for people to pursue. I mean, tech is now the new buzz. If you are not learning to design webs and UI, UX and all that, not as if you are setting yourself up for failure, But then the author now says, okay, however, isn't that precisely why we should follow our interests? If we do so, we are likely to do the best job possible. Now, what the author is doing here is to say that, okay, although that might be some other people's thoughts, but really, it's not well-founded enough. It's not enough reason for people to say they want to pick up certain courses just because of all of that. And then lastly, the author says people who ignore their inner voices. Okay, so I think I'm getting exhausted, but what I just want you guys to see here is a particular order that is being followed, and that makes this whole thing hold together, cohesive, if you may. So if you are adopting the mostly agree or mostly disagree stance, now what your structure would typically look like is that you would have, let's say, 3 body paragraphs. The third body paragraph is where you talk about the other instance, okay? The other part that you are not supporting. But it will also follow these first two, you know, or you might not, but you ensure that you talk about the other position in full, but you still maintain that, okay, for the most part, this is not the case. You understand? So when you now get to your conclusion, what you do instead of introducing a counterpoint again, you won't do that. Instead, you try to summarize all of the points you've mentioned in your 3 body paragraphs, right? And just tie it up together. Just because you mostly agree or mostly disagree. You say, in these cases, this is true, in this case, this is true, but in this particular cases, it might be thought to not be true and all that, and you can just wrap up your essay that way. So yeah, that is how the issue essay should typically be structured and be written. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is really awesome, and I'm sure everyone in the audience, they are really enjoying how you analyzing and breaking all this down. But I just want to remind you about time.
Okay, but how many minutes do I have now?
Okay. So for the AWA, you have less than 5 minutes.
Wow. Okay. Okay. Let me quickly let me now rush through now because the argument essay task is also quite a lot. Okay, let's get started then. So here are tips to getting a high score on the issue essay. Okay, I think you should read widely. Read beyond your niche area. If you're an engineering student, start reading things about history, politics, sports, and art, because the prompts can come from anywhere. Okay, they don't care whether you are this or that. They can ask you about Mona Lisa or something. So you want to have this over a lot of issues. Then you should practice a lot of issue essay writing, yeah, to so that you can get yourself in this. Firstly, to master time management, just as Tegal said, very important for you to know the amount of time it takes for you to brainstorm your ideas and the amount of time it takes for you to start writing them down. Okay, so when you practice a lot of issue essay writing, it will help you to master time management for the test. So there are a lot of issue essay prompts on ECS's website. Just go there and you randomly just pick one and practice. So you need to learn how to type fast because for you to develop your examples, for you to write down all these things, it takes words to, to put them down. So the ability to type fast, given that you have 30 minutes for each of these tasks, is very essential. Yeah, so now the argument essay task. Here you are being tested on the ability to analyze and evaluate arguments, okay, according to specific instructions, and also to put down your writing under a specified duration. So here you are given a prompt, the author makes a case for some course of actions and some evidence to back it up. And always that particular prompt that you're given is flawed in so many ways, okay? The author is either making some unfounded assumptions or making some crazy claims, okay? So there's always something for you to look at to see that what the author is saying is given. So your task here is to critique the author's arguments and address the logical flaws and not provide your personal opinion on the subject. So you're not expected to say this person is wrong. No, I do not, I'm this, I'm that, so I don't agree. No, it's not anything personal. It has to be purely based on logic. And yeah, so the necessary steps should be, you want to read the passage first, very, very well, identify the conclusions or assertions, and the first evidences by the author. And then you want to identify the assumptions. Now, evidences are the things that the author presents to back up the conclusion. But assumptions are things that the author had in mind before, saying the evidences leads to the conclusion. So they are usually unstated. So it is your task to find this assumption to help you to put something tangible down. So, after you've read the passage and you've identified the assumptions, you want to, put down your writing on your draft paper in a very, very structured way. Yeah. So, because of time, I don't think we. Okay, let's move on to this. You have. I'll summarize what this is instead of you having to read through. In a city council proceedings for a particular county, maybe Smithville or so, you have that another is making a recommendation that they should increase, the police visibility and that it will drop down the crime rates there. But he mentioned certain things that, okay, if Okay, he didn't mention this actually. I'm trying to, okay, let's retrieve so that I don't miss out on things. The City Council of Smithville has instituted changes to police procedures to improve the visibility of the police force. These changes require that the town hire more police officers, budget more funds for police overtime, and direct officers to patrol significantly more often on foot rather than from their patrol cars. This improvement in visibility will significantly lower the crime rate in Smithville and make its citizens feel safer. Now, this is the prompt. Now, this is instruction. Write a response in which you discuss what questions would need to be answered and decide how likely the stated information is to you. Be sure to explain how the answers to this question will help to evaluate the recommendation. Now, other prompts would say, okay, identify the flaws in this reasoning or something, but this one is particularly asking you to discuss the questions. Okay, so you are going to be answering the task based on what you are asked to do. So here we have to talk about those questions that need to be answered. Okay, and how answering those questions will help us evaluate what this author has actually said. So just like with the issue essay task, your argument essay should have an introduction, a body, and then your conclusion. So in your introduction, I advise that you rephrase the main conclusion of the argument. Okay, and then next you identify and state the author's evidence if he actually presents one or she presents one, and declare your thesis. So here I said, okay, in the proceedings section of the newspaper in Smithville, the first sentence, I'm trying to rephrase the main conclusion. The author concludes that certain measures are necessary to significantly reduce crime rates and improve the safety of the citizens of Smithville. Okay, this is the first sentence, rephrasing what it is that the author concluded. So next, I want to identify and state the author's evidence. Here, the author did not give any evidence. He just mentioned that, okay, this is what we should do. Okay, so the said measures include recruiting new officers, offering incentives for working overtime, and encouraging more food. Now, my last one, my thesis is that, however, 3 questions must be answered before this recommendation can be properly evaluated. Now, you can see that anyone that reads this introduction will know that first the writer understands what is being asked, and the candidate has actually read the prompts well enough to know that okay, he wants you to ask certain questions that need to be answered before whatever the author has put down should be followed. So next, having started out that way, your body paragraph, body paragraph is actually okay. For the argument essay, you have more, I think it's relatively easier because you can always just see through the flaws in the argument. So you can, for as many flaws that you can think of, and you can back them down, like you can back them up very well. Just develop your paragraph. But 3 body paragraph is okay because you also don't have the luxury of time. So firstly, you want to state the supporting idea, then give examples to this idea. You want to conclude each paragraph by showing the effect of your idea on the author's conclusion. So an example. So I said, firstly, the first question to ask is, what is the correlation between police visibility and crime rates? Okay, we cannot certainly say that, the increasing police visibility will drive down crime rates, is what I'm trying to say here. Because if statistics of, okay, now, the supporting idea is that there was no stated correlation between police visibility and crime rates. And to conclude this paragraph, I'm now going to say that if we have evidence given by the author that particularly says that, oh, they have actually carried out a survey or they've actually gone to other cities and monitored, okay, other similar cities, there's still a flaw there, but let's leave that aside. They've gone to other similar cities and they've seen that, okay, because they have more police force, or because they have their police being on patrol often than being in, so that is why they have lower crime rates, then the author's recommendation will be justified. But the author did not present anything like that. Okay, the author just said, if we have this, if we do this, okay, so there are so many gaps in what the author has recommended, and that is what this paragraph is to mention. So the other paragraph will also be about one other thing that the author missed out on saying that makes the recommendation, not really have merits like that. And another one can be that, okay, if there was actually a survey that was, if the recommendation was based on similar cities, so how can we really say what applies to those cities also apply to these particular cities? I mean, the other city that the author might be comparing the cities to might have a larger population of residents, And having larger population of people mean everybody is their brother's keeper or something like that. And so people cannot really commit crime. So, there are just so many things that you can think about to see that, this particular author's recommendation is not really, really solid. And those are the things that your body paragraph will be addressing, but in this way, stating, supporting idea and concluding. So in giving example, notice the perhaps here, where if statistics of crime rates in different parts of your cities, okay. So yeah, for the conclusion, because really running out of time. Yeah, you want to state how the argument is completely flawed, because the argument is always flawed. Okay, that is what they are asking you to do in the argument essay. Tell us how this argument is flawed. Okay, and then you can request for more evidence from the author to back up their conclusion. And you want to state how more evidence will help you evaluate the argument better. Okay, so doing this will help the reader, person that is assessing your essay, know that you are really a good thinker. I mean, you thought this thing through for you to know how those evidences or how those questions that when they are answered, this is what the effect will actually be. And so it helps you to score high on the essay. So this is a sample conclusion. In conclusion, the glaring lack of evidence by the author in positing that improved police visibility will significantly reduce blah, 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 and thus blah, 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 okay, should be taken with a pinch of salt. So if the author is able to answer the questions above and offer more evidence, justifying a negative correlation between increased police presence and crime rates, then it will be possible to fully evaluate the viability of the proposed recommendation. Okay, so this is okay. This is very okay. So yeah, the tips I recommend, you have to read the arguments carefully as well as the instruction. It is very important that you read the instruction, trust me, because you might see the flaws in the argument, but they are not asking you for those flaws. They're not asking you to list out the flaws. They're asking you to instead ask questions that need to be answered, not actually, directly address the flaws, just like with this example. And then you want to think of additional evidence that might be to support the claims. And you want to be careful in interpreting things like numbers or percentages and statistics in an argument. So an example of this is a case where you are given that 20% of all the people living in a particular area are obese. So definitely 35% of everybody in the whole country are also obese. So those values, 35%, 20% are dubious because they are considering different population of people. Okay, people that are living in that area are not the same as those in the entire country. I would have loved to show you guys an example, but there isn't time for that. So certain numbers, percentages, and statistics are quoted dubiously, and you can just pick them out and say that, okay, there is a flaw in the interpretation of these numbers and percentages. I hope that is clear. Now, also, as with the issue essay, you want to practice a lot of argument essay writing. There is the ETS online tool for that. So just pick one randomly and try your hands on them so that you can know how long it will take you to answer a typical argument essay task and how you want to plan your time for doing that. So you also need to learn how to type fast. Okay. Yeah, so the verbal reasoning section.
Sorry to interrupt, Adewale. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Hello, Faida, I can hear you.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
So I see a lot of people saying we should. Yeah, I see a lot of people saying we should give you more time. So we've giving you more time, but in this next section you might have to be faster. So let's just take two questions that they've asked based on the analytical writing part of the GRE. So I'm just going to read out two questions. So someone is asking, how do
Hello, Faida, I can't hear you anymore. Did you say hello? Hello.
Yeah, Adewale, I can hear you. Probably from Faida.
Okay. Yeah, I think she'll be coming back online. I think it's just.
Oh, okay.
It's something on network. Okay, I'm not quite sure, but I want to believe that the question she was trying to take was how does one indicate is stand, whether it is strongly agree or mostly agree.
Okay. Okay, I think she's back on now. But to answer that, how do you indicate that you strongly agree or that you mostly agree?
Yeah, mostly agree, yes.
So in some cases, you can just explicitly say that, okay, just as with that, I strongly agree, or in my opinion, I strongly agree. In my opinion, I mostly agree. Okay, or you can just, write it out in a way that you say, okay, while this might be true in certain instances, okay, for the most part, this is this. So while you're saying that, you're letting the reader know that, okay, you saying for the most part means, yeah, you're supporting the other parts more strongly than the other one, but that you are not really, you're not pretty much decided on, which one it is actually. So you can either say, in my opinion, I mostly agree. In my opinion, I strongly agree. Okay, or you can say for the mostly agree part, you can say, okay, while blah 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 can be this in certain instance, for the most part, this is actually what it is. So that way they know that, okay, they're mostly agreeing. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, so I think that answers the question. That it should be stated clearly on what it is that you do, and then have your body buttress what your stance is. Okay. Sorry, so Adewale, can you also take this question? Someone would like to ask, what is the average words typing speed you would advise people to practice towards? Average word count per minute? Someone is asking, is 50 words per minute a comfortable speed for typing for a student preparing for GRE?
Okay, well, comfortable is really very subjective, relative. Okay, I don't think I type at that speed. Okay, but the faster you can type, the better for you. So that is why it is essential that you take practice tests so that you can assess yourself, know how faster you currently type and how many words you were able to finish given the time. You have to do the thinking, you have to do the outlining. So all of those things then plus your typing speed. So that way you know how fast you need to type. So I think ideally you should be able to type at 45 or 40 words per minute. I think that is, but then
Okay.
you don't want to, because you don't have all the 30 minutes to just be typing. You need to, let's say, maybe 10 minutes or 5 minutes for your brainstorming and all of that. So that can actually be adjusted based on how well you can quickly brainstorm ideas and outline them before you start typing. But I think typically 45 words per minute should be adequate.
Okay. Thank you very much, Adewale. I think that answers the question. Sorry, Atubula, your hand is up. Please, could you just drop your question in the chat box? We'll attend to it. Yeah. Adewale, you can continue with your next please. Yes. I'm saying if you just drop his message in the chat box while Adewale continues.
Yes, Adewale, you have 15 minutes for this section, please.
Wow. Okay. All right. So, Faida, kindly let me know when I just have 5 more minutes, just like the other time. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. So, yeah, so the verbal reasoning section of the GRE, each of them, because you can have the minimum of 2, maximum of 3. So each of them comprises 20 questions, time 30 minutes, and it's set to test your ability to comprehend and interpret academic style text with moderate high-level vocabulary. Okay, so because you are taking the GRE because you plan on going to graduate school, they want to assess out your level of preparedness for what you would encounter in graduate school. And there you'll be reading publications, you'll be reading dense, materials, not you reading all these blog posts and all that. So they want to assess your ability to understand, texts that are written in a very, very conk English. You understand what I mean? So, and the kind of vocabulary you encounter when you are reading those particular academic texts is not the average vocabulary. So they want to understand, they want to assess how well you can understand, high level vocabulary and, complex sentence structure that is very, very familiar, that's well read in, among people that are in academia. Yeah, so each of the section comprises questions on text completion, where you have 1 blank, 2 blank, or 3 blanks. I'll show you examples of text completion questions. And we have sentence equivalence questions. And also you have reading comprehension passages. And under this, we have multiple choice questions, multiple answers questions, and text and passage questions. Pega has spoken about multiple choice and multiple answers, so they are very similar also here. Yeah, so how do you answer text completion questions? So a text completion question is simply just your filling the gap questions. and you can have just one gap, and they call it a one blank text completion question. So what you want to do for questions like this is you want to read the entire text without stopping at that blank. Just imagine that the blank is not there. What you are trying to do here is trying to get an overall feel for what the story is that the author or whoever with that chunk of text is trying to pass across. So you want to imagine that there is no blank when you are reading it for the first time. And after you've done that, try and make a guess for a word that should go into that blank. I would complete it in a very logical way. And then you now check your options for the word that closely matches your guess. So the one thing that most students do sometimes is to first check the options before they read the text. They think that would help them to understand, but no, you waste your time. Okay, and managing your time is very, very crucial on this test. So you don't want to do that. It's a waste your time because most of the times the options look very similar, and then when you now go back to reading the text, you become more confused. So first you want to read the text, make your guess, and then check for the options that closely matches your guess. So for instance, you have, this is a typical one blank TC. We have that an investigation that is dash can occasionally, see how I said that is dash, without saying that is can occasionally, okay? An investigation that is dash can occasionally yield new facts, even notable ones, but typically the appearance of such facts is the result of research in a definite direction. Now, on the following slide, I'll tell you the things you should look out for in this text that will guide your looking for your answer. Now, they employ certain, let's say, grammatical elements, okay? You see things like colons, semicolons, words like buts, although, despite, yet. These things are pointers to let you know that, okay, there is a shift in the direction, or there is a continuity in the direction that the author is going. So in this case, but here is telling you that what came before is in a different direction from what is after. So saying that but, typically the appearance of such facts is the result of research in a definite direction means that whatever is before is talking about research that is not in a definite direction. So that is one of the clues that you have. So an investigation that is dash can occasionally yield new facts. So an investigation that is not in a definite direction will be my initial guess, because what comes after is that, but typically the appearance of, okay, so this will let me know that what I'm to look for in the options is whatever suggests that something is not in a definite direction. Now, timely is just, occurring at the right time. Unguided means, not guided. Consistent means, just regular and regularly repeated or something. Uncomplicated is simple, subjective is, relative and all of that. So the only one is unguided. So that should let me know that this should be the answer. Okay, so now you put it into the blank and read it again so that it has to make sense to you. An investigation that is unguided can occasionally yield new facts, even notable ones, but typically the appearance of such facts is a result of research in a definite direction. That makes perfect sense. Okay, so this is how you approach one blank thesis. What this is saying is that occasionally, okay, let me not belabor that. I think you guys get the message already. We don't have much time. So just as you want to take at the blanks, you want to look out for grammatical elements to indicate relationship between two portions of the text. I mentioned this earlier. You want to look for clues in the portions of the that can inform your guess words. So for 2 and 3 blanks, other than you looking for these grammatical elements, like I mentioned, the colon and semicolon. Whenever you see colon and semicolon, you is saying after is still in line with what he said before. But when you see things like although, despite, yet, and all of that, you know that whatever the author is saying before is different from what he's now saying. So, but clues are words that point you to what the answer should be. Okay, so you have to also look for clues also in when you're answering 2 and 3 blank thesis. So after you found clues, you have to make a guess, and you have to ensure that the guess completes the story. So here is an example 2 blank. Here in stark contrast to his later dash, Simpson was largely dash politics during his college years, despite the fact that the campus he attended was rife with political activity. Okay, now I've read the sentence also. Now I'm going to look for those grammatical elements. I see despite here, meaning that whatever came after is different from what came before. So knowing that despite the fact that despite the fact that the campus he attended was rife with political activity, okay? So it says that, okay, this person attended the school, there were a lot of political activities. So in the starting, they said in stark contrast to his later dash. simply was largely that. Now, the clue that you have, because after you've noted your grammatical elements, which is your despite, the buts, and the colons, and all of that, you have to look for clues. So the clue is that it has to do with his participation in politics. Okay, so this last part saying that despite the fact that the campus he attended was right politically means that somehow this guy was not participating in politics at all, despite the fact that there were a lot of political activities going on his campus. So that is the clue as to what my options, the selected options could be. Now, if you check the option, you can see that in first blank, the only thing that relates to politics, when you say someone is a social activist, someone is a peace activist, it's activism. Apathy has nothing to do here. Affability, friendliness, nothing to do. Okay, and apathy, you're not concerned, indifference or something. So it is activism. But now let's leave that on hold. Simpson was largely dash politics during his college years. So if despite has said that there were a lot of political activities in his campus, and it was largely what came before. That means this guy was not even doing, despite the fact that political activity. I feel like I'm beating myself too often, but you guys should get me. I'm just trying to ensure that it's very clear.
You have about 5 minutes, Adewale. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, what should go in the second blank is indifferent to politics, and the first blank should be activism, because this is the only thing that has a bearing on anything pertaining to politics. So if you put them in the blanks and you read it, it makes perfect sense why they should be the answer. So the 3 blank TC also works the same way. I would not be reading this because of time, but the answer should be Zoom. Okay. I think I shouldn't do, because we still have much more to cover, but it's very easy if you follow these guidelines. Okay. So sentence equivalence questions are like your one blank questions. Okay, so the steps to also answering them are similar. But one thing is that you have to look out for synonyms here, words that have the same meaning. They really help you in answering these questions. So the difference is that you have to select 2 options here, other than the one blank thesis. When you just have one, you have to select just one option. So although it does contain some pioneering ideas, one would hardly characterize the word as that. Although is the grammatical element here telling you that what comes after here, after this comma, should be different from, so what should come after is something that is not pioneering or innovative or a cutting edge or a first of its kind sort of thing. So your answer should be original and innovative. Now you can see that anything original is really innovative, and they are synonyms, and they happen to be the answer. So that is almost always the case, but not always the case when you're attempting SE questions. The answers are almost always synonyms, so you have to look out for synonyms. Yeah, this is another one, but I won't be doing this because of time. But yeah, the same applies. So house C passages, reading comprehension passages, these are like the perhaps toughest part of the verbal listening section. So this is how I think you should construct them. First, you should give it a quick read. You're skimming stages. You want to understand what the passage is trying to do. Is the author trying to make a classification, make an argument, or make an exposition? What is the author trying to do? That's what you want to do when you do the first read. So I've mentioned already, to make a mental classification, blah, blah, blah. Then after you skim through and you classify it mentally, you want to read it the second time. Now you want to pay attention to the way the author put the right things together. Okay, where did he set up contradictions? Where did he make particular references to places and all of that? They are important in your understanding the passage. So when you are now selecting your answers, you want to be sure that each answer is not and totally correct, because they have a way of giving you partially correct answers, and the unsuspecting candidates to select these answers, and that is why people score low on the RC section. So yeah, the types of RC question types: multiple choice questions. How you know multiple choice question is because of the oval shapes of the options A, B, C, D. You can see the shape. So you're just expected to select one answer here. So I was going to take these examples, but I don't think we have that much time. So yeah, okay, this is easy. Let's do this. A person who agrees to serve as mediator between two warring factions at the request of both abandons by so agreeing the right to take sides later. To take sides at a later point would be to suggest that the earlier presumptive impartiality was a sham. So this is just saying that, okay, now what is the author doing here? He's just narrating, just telling you. Now, the author is saying that if anybody that decides to separate fights must agree that it must not take any sides later, okay? Because if he does that, he has, broken the unspoken covenants that, you must be impartial when you are doing things like that. So the passage of the following point of mediators. Mediators is that they should not even agree to mediate, they're going to be impartial, going to be the correct answer, which is B. They should not agree to serve unless they are committed to maintaining a stance of impartiality. Now, why is A wrong? I'll explain. A says that they should try to form no opinions of their own about any issue that relates to dispute. Now, this sounds correct in a sense. We're not looking for what is correct in a sense. We're looking for what the author actually means, when he talked about mediators. He did not say anywhere that they should not form any opinion. What he says is that to take sides at a later point. So he's talking about after. You understand? So they should not change after. They should not change their impartiality after. Now, C is wrong because he says they should not agree to serve unless they are equally acceptable to all parties to dispute. This is not anywhere close to what the author was trying to say about. They should feel free to take sides in a dispute right from the start, provided that they make their biases. But what is this? So this is clearly wrong because, yeah, for the obvious reasons, they should reserve the right to abandon their impartiality so as not to. Okay, so I think I do not need to. It's clear that all of the other options are saying something that the author did not mention in any way. Okay, they are stretching it and they are wrong for that reason. So multiple answer questions are the ones that have these square-shaped options, A, B, C, meaning that you can select 1, 2, or all of them. You can copy one of them can be correct at least. So we're not going to be taking this, but I wanted us to. So select text in passage questions. Here you'll be asked to select a portion of the text that addresses a question. Let's particular passage now. The question now says select a sentence in the passage. Now, what are they asking you to address? Whose function is to indicate the range of Mendelssohn's musical talent? So you look at the passage, you've read it before, and in your mind, you've already categorized it. Once you look at it, you should be able to go to where that point is, where they mention the range of musical talents. That's who the author is speaking about has. And you can see that it is the fourth sentence. From then on, he was recognized as an international, not only as a composer, but also as a pianist and conductor. So this person has all of these talents. Okay. Yeah. So lastly, I recommend that you guys use this material. They were helpful to me, and I believe they will be helpful to all of you too. The ETS verbal guide, Kaplan Prep, Instant Review, and KM, and Magush GRE Prep also, including the vocabulary flashcards to improve your vocabulary, and then GRE-Maths GRE resources. So the issue essay task that I showed earlier was from GRE-Maths. I said I was going to mention it. So yeah. Finally, okay. This is the last slide, Faida. So let me just, or should I end it here?
Okay.
Okay.
Please
so
go on.
You need to be consistent with your prep. Okay. So personally, there was something happened while I was praying for my GRE. I had to leave because I think the last diagnostic test I took before stopping, I had a 168 on the verbal. No, I think I had a 170 in my practice before I left. I know getting the 170, like, okay, I can now do something else and all that. But when I came back 2 weeks after to resume preparing, and I took another diagnostic, like stopping your prep abruptly is going to really affect your performance in a way. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's just peculiar to me, but that happened. So I think you should be consistent with your prep. And you should take as much practice test as you need to build your endurance. Yes, because it's almost like this test is a test of stamina. You will feel like your brain is being drained while you're preparing for it. So you want to be able to build up that endurance before your test day. So yeah, thank you and good luck for your test. So
Whoa, thank you so much, Adewale. And I apologize that I have to keep telling you about time. And I'm sure that people in the audience, they would really agree that it has been very enlightening. And then I'm sure they have more confidence now, especially in the analytical writing and also in the verbal section. And you even motivated us. You said you scored a 170 in your verbal practice test.
oh
Yeah.
no, that was not no, I didn't mean, I thought I said quant. I scored a 90%
Okay, in
in
quant.
verbal. Yes.
Okay.
I was talking about my
wow.
my
Whichever
diagnosis.
one.
So just
Okay, yeah, your diagnosis.
Yeah, my
So that is really
that was what I was
outstanding. And a lot of people are now saying probably you should cut soap for us. For me, I would say don't only cut it, but you should also teach us how to use the soap, because you can just give us, we might not know how to use it. And I'm sure you've shared a part of this soap with us today. So thank you so much, Adewale. We have some questions in the chat. I'm sure you will respond to them. Kindly respond to them through the chat. We need to go to the next. Our next topic is acing the TOEFL. Our next topic is acing the TOEFL, and it will be taken by this young facilitator here with a very large smile. His name is Mayokun Oke, and Mayokun is a 2020 I scholar and a graduate of Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife, which they call Oba Awon, I don't know. So he received a fully funded master's offer in the USA. And something very interesting about this outstanding scholar is he studied chemical engineering in OAU, but you'd be going for a program in mechanical engineering. I'm starting to wonder how that is possible, but I'm sure he would share that with us once we're done with all presentations. So Mayokun, you it's your turn.
I have the floor.
I'll stop sharing now.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I must say it's such an honor and a privilege to be here. I would like to allude to what every other person before me has said and stand on existing protocol. I'm very, very excited.
I don't think we can hear you very well. I don't know.
Okay, I'll take it again. I said I'm very excited to be here. I will stand on existing protocol and with maximum respect for the scholars that have gone before me. So can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can, but would appreciate if it's a bit louder.
Okay.
So how about now? I'm doing away with my hands free. I think it's better this way.
Perfect.
Okay. So the hands free was getting in my way. So yeah, I said it's an honor to be here, and I'm very excited about this opportunity. It's always a pleasure to be able to share with people about where we have gone to, and to tell them we've gone there and you can also do this. And I think that's a platform that iSI provides for all of us. So I'm very excited about all of the participants that have joined us today, and I hope that you take something about the next course of 17, 18 minutes that I would be speaking with you. So first, I'd like to allude to what Faida had said. Yes, my background is in chemical, but I'm going for a master's in mechanical, and that just directly ties to, because of my career plans and what I intend to do, fusing engineering design with with chemical engineering. So I kind of feel like I've answered that. So I will be talking over the next course of next couple of minutes about acing the TOEFL. The TOEFL stands for the test of English as a foreign language. I've had scholars give me a soft landing and a very, very good handshake about what the GRE is, the parts in the GRE. And when you think of the GRE verbal, the verbal section, as well as the analytical writing, it's English. It's test of English language That's what the TOEFL is now, is as a standardized test to just test your English language capability. So I would like to say that justification for why I am a very good handler for you today is because I have written the exam. I have been there, I have written the exam. I have a thorough handle of the language. In the guide that you will be seeing in this slide, it's concisely structured. And I will also advise that everybody should please get the ebook if you have not already gotten it. iSI's ebook that has been shared, the link has been shared over and over. After this session, we'll post it again for you to go and download it. Check out the TOEFL, the chapter on TOEFL in the text. It is very concise and it's elaborate as it can be. There are links there that have been carefully researched to help you properly on as you prepare for the exam. So I would say that this was my score for my TOEFL exam last year, October, and I would say that, for this, I actually had set a plan. I was considering going into some schools I wanted to get into. Then I checked out Imperial College and I was like, okay, what's Imperial College requirement for TOEFL or IELTS? And I checked that Imperial College actually wanted a 25 in every section, a minimum of 25 in every section. And I set that as my goal, that Imperial College needs me to have 25 in each of the sections. I was going to set 25 for myself in each of the sections and see how well I will measure up. So I just sought to prepare, practice, and move up with that. So I started this already. First, you're going to set a goal about the score you want to get. So I'll also tell you an interesting story about how I think about scores. It's such that generally when I hear people write exams, it's 30 for each of the section, reading, listening, speaking, and writing. And when you get 30 in all of them, you get a total score of 120. So when people get, I see people that come back with maybe 90 over 120, it's 98 over 120. I feel like, wow, I think about scores in terms of what you did not get as opposed to what you got. I know that can be pessimistic, but it's not pessimistic at all for me. It's about, I could have actually done better. Yes, I'm fine with what I got, but I will use this to motivate myself to want to do better. So back in school, scores are over 100. When you get an 80, I think in terms of, okay, you actually have 20 marks that you could have actually mopped up, maybe get 4 more to get 84. You got a 69, you actually lost 31 marks. You could have gotten 1 more to get an A. So I used to think in terms of that. So for me as well, I thought about TOEFL like that. I was like, come on, I don't want to get 90. I don't want to get 100. Even 100 over 120 seems small. But when you break it down, you see that you actually got 25, 25, 25, 25. That started making me reconcile that I need to respect the scores that people get on this test more. And I feel that this guide would help you to make your own plans. You want to see exactly how you can achieve the things that you want to achieve and get the results that you want to get. So without further ado, let's get into it. So by way of an outline, this is what we'll be talking about today. I would be giving you an introduction, and then I'll tell you about the sections which I've already mentioned, the reading, listening, speaking, and writing, as well as how you can very, very well prepare yourself to score very high in them. And then I'll leave you with some final words of encouragement about what you can do on the test day, as well as in the preparation towards the test. So please, you can use the chat box if you want me to know anything at all about my pace, as well as the moving, because I would state this at the beginning. The time is very limited. Right now, I'm looking at upwards of about 14 minutes for this session. Like I said, the guide we have written in the ebook is very, very structured. So, but follow me through in this section as I talk through some of them. So, I know this is not a session where our participants are currently allowed to unmute themselves. I would have loved the participants that can raise their hand and maybe that can grant them access to try to pronounce this for me. But then,
yes,
okay.
If you could ask them, I'll unmute them.
Oh, beautiful. So do I have, okay, I have Samuel Ibidapo. Oh, I don't know, is someone wanting to try this? Somebody raise their hand. Samuel, I want somebody to try to pronounce
So we just take one person.
Okay, can I take Samuel Ibidapo? You raise his hand first. Samuel Ibidapo.
Okay.
So Samuel,
you can unmute.
Okay,
I've asked you.
yeah, good evening, everyone.
Yeah, good evening, Samuel.
Good evening.
Okay, so it is pronounced, I think it is pronounced meme.
You see, Samuel, you see what you said? I want to pay attention. Like you said, you think it is pronounced. Fine, it's your thoughts, and you are correct. But have you heard people pronounce this in any other way? Anybody, have you heard people pronounce this in any other way?
Like meme?
Exactly. I've heard people pronounce it as meme. In fact, I've heard meme before. I've heard people say meme. I've heard some people say mimi. Because you can't blame them. It's just what you're seeing. I'm seeing me and me. I'm like, it's me. So that's English language. You can think you have the tips and tricks. You have everything covered, and then you discover that. I mean, at times it could play tricks on you, and you're gonna pronounce some words until you go back to inspect exactly how they get pronounced, which is some of the things that happen for non-English speaking countries. So Adewale already did a very, very good introduction into what English language is generally and why schools will require it when he did talk about the analytical writing. And I don't want to dwell too much on that. I feel like if you go back to session and if you followed, you will get exactly why they want you, because you use English language in your grad school, in writing papers, in talking to people, in relating with people. So they want to see that you can use the language well, that you have a thorough and on the language. So this is actually not pronounced meme or meme, it is actually pronounced meme. Like the literal transliteration, M-E-E-M, meme, that's how it's pronounced. So like I said, it's English can be funny, but you need to get a handle of it. And that's where practice for your TOEFL test comes in. So generally your TOEFL test is going to have 4 sections. You have 2 sections first, you have a break of 10 minutes, then you have 2 sections again. It's always in this order, it never changes. The reading, the listening, the speaking, and the writing, with a break in between your listening and your speaking. So generally the test is for a little over 3 hours. For your reading section, you would have about 3 or 4 passages, it varies. Generally when you have, mostly you always have 3 passages in your reading section. Which means you would have more passages to do in your listening. But if you have 1 more passage in your reading, then the effect is felt on your listening. You have 1 less section in your listening to deal with. So it varies, but in recent time, it's always been majorly 3 sections under your reading. So I will take each of the sections one by one and let us go through this. So generally in your reading passage, I've mentioned this already, and I would have you know this, that the passages are a bit much more than what you have in the GRE, but they are not as complex as the GRE in the sense that it's largely basic English, and they are not tough vocabularies that you need to maybe break down or decipher. It's always very, very watered down English that is used in the test of English, that's the TOEFL. And it's relatively easier. And generally when you have questions, so in this guide already, I told you about the fact that you would have 3 or 4 reading passages, and you would have 10 questions in each of this for each of those passages. And then for the questions you have in a 700-word paragraph, you would have it such that your question 1 would most likely be on paragraph 1. So one of things I advise you to do is this: you have 54 minutes for the whole of your reading passages throughout your TOEFL test. I would advise throughout your TOEFL test. This is a very common advice. Work very well with your timer. Reading, you have 54 minutes for all of the section, 3 sections. So if you break that down, that's 18 minutes each. I would advise, do not use 18 minutes for 1 section. Try to see how you can use 15 minutes at best for the first set of 10 questions. You know, like Tega had said when he dealt with quant, if you spend more than 2 minutes on a question in quant maths, you are shooting yourself in the leg. So do not spend too much time on a question. I would advise, generally take the first 4 or 5 minutes of any new section to read first. So what we're going to do first is you skim. By skimming, what I just is your eyes is bouncing off the page on your screen. You have a mouse, you can just click and look at how long it is, see what the title is. Then to now scan, skimming is just look through first. To scan, I advise you read the first paragraph and the first sentence of subsequent paragraphs to get an idea of what the passage is about. At least the passage is talking about the World War II. First paragraph would have talked about how it started or something. Then the next couple of paragraphs we try to buttress that point, and I can get an idea of what the passage is about without having read all of the information. So when you get all of that idea, you know that when you're reading the 3rd time for details, the passage is now a part of you. You can do all of this. The skimming, first 20-30 seconds, you're done. In scanning, the next 45 seconds, you're done. And finally, you can take the next 3 minutes to do a read of about 700 words. The average reading speed of an average person is about 250 words per minute. So you can more than do 700 words in 3.5 minutes. So it's also always good to get an idea of what kind of questions can come. Generally, reading has 6 question types. At the end of this as well, I'll also send a link to an EDX course that you might want to take for fun. You might want to take as part of your preparation. The links I've already shared with you are very exhaustive, yes, but this is just, you have enough time to prepare. Let's say you have 2-3 months, you want to write your exam in 2-3 months, and you want to start preparing, you want to get an idea about the kind of questions, you can visit this TOEFL course to get exactly what it is, what the questions are about. So the question would ask you questions like, according to the passage, which of this is true? My dad married a wife, my mom married a husband, something like that. And then you're supposed to choose, okay, which of this happened in the passage? Which of this is not true from the passage? That's called factual information. Either it's a positive factual information or a negative factual information. So questions are always like that. Inference and rhetorical could ask you, which of this can you infer from the passage? So also the reading vocabulary in TOEFL, I must have you know this, don't get scared. They are always very easy. They could ask you, what's the synonymous word for maybe a word like candid, C-A-N-D-I-D, and you would always be asked in context. Like say, my friend gave me, Mr. John gave Mr. Daniel a candid advice and told him the truth about what he needed to know. So when you read that kind of word in context, you get an idea, oh, it's just saying something about truth, and then you can easily predict what it's about. So you also have sentence simplification. You would also be told to insert text. So like I said, I cannot go through all of the question types because it's awesome. And I can, if I take time to explain all of that, then I'll be doing you injustice as regards delving on the other parts that you really need to spend time on. But I will show you about this. The reading section is it's not a plug and play, but it's fairly easy when you practice well, when you have rehearsed with the materials that we have put in the guide for you. So after the reading section, you then go to the listening section. So now let me create your indulgence on this in the sense that listening is as simple as it gets. It's practically the easiest section in the TOEFL because what you just need to do is to listen either to a lecture or a conversation. Generally, you would have 3 or 4 lectures. Each of them will be about 3 to 5 minutes long, and then you'd have 6 questions following. And then you could have conversations as well. Lectures could mean, because like we said, you're going to a graduate school where lecturers will be teaching you in the English language. So, and then when you're teaching in the English language, you then know that, so I'm taking my time, teaching in English language, you know that you have to use the language well. And then part of what using the language entails is that you need to be able to relate with it in class, learn what is being said. And all of that. So you have lectures as part of your TOEFL test audios to listen to. So when you listen to them, what you just need to do, I advise, is basically to pay rapt attention. And then you should also have this confidence in yourself that generally, I mean, in Nigeria, even though some of these schools will tell you they've not regarded Nigeria as an English-speaking country, as that by that I mean Nigeria is not regarded as English language is your first language, so you have to prove to them by submitting this exam TOEFL or IELTS, and so you want to just make sure you're listening to the conversation. It's something I use daily. I mean, I went to secondary school. I'm a graduate of a university in Nigeria. I was taught for 4 or 5 years. Lecturers taught me in school, so I can easily listen to what you are saying and then tell you what I have learned from what you have said, and also pen down things and learn from, and then tell you exactly what the lecture or the conversation was about. So generally, you primarily have to understand what was said, and then the questions you now try to test. Did you get the gist of what was said? What was the attitude of what was said? Like, if I tell you something like, I will slap you. I mean, I'm trying to give an example here, so that you know exactly how you feel or the feel of what you get in the test of in your listening section. If somebody tells you something like, I will slap you with a tone like, I will slap you, you know the person means it. As opposed to somebody saying, I think I will slap you. You can get a feel of, okay, English language is not just about what was said. It's also about the tone with which it was said. It's also about the context in which it was said. It's also about the person to which it was said, to whom it was said. So you can begin to piece some of these things together. Now, let me have you notice that these are things that generally we do not pay special attention to, but we know them in the sense that you can tell when somebody says something that the person doesn't really mean it. I will slap you doesn't mean I will slap you because of the way I said it. Why? I didn't say it this strong to something like that. So you will be able to get relationship between things and all of that. At the end of this as well, I will also tell you about the software that you need to have on your laptops to practice to take demo tests on the reading and listening section. For that, you will get it graded. You will be able to assess what your actual score could be like on the actual day. So there is one important thing I want you to note. This actually was something that shot me in the leg during my test. If you go back to my my score, you see that listening section actually was a good one for me. But in this section, I actually was shot in the leg in the sense that I did not know about the timing very well. I mean, the timing I found on the exam time was quite different in the sense that for the first section, I had about 10 minutes to answer 3 sections. So generally, when you're listening to your lectures or your conversation, the time is not running down. So when it shows 10 minutes on your screen, that 10 minutes is to answer about 3 different audios. So you know that you want to budget, okay, over the next 3 minutes, I will use it to answer the first lecture, another 3 minutes to answer the next lecture, the final 3 or 4 minutes to answer the final lecture. So you want to make sure you budget your time like that. So I'm just saying this generally. The average time you get to answer anything on TOEFL in your listening section, the average time you get to answer any one section is 3 to 4 minutes. So if you see a time on your screen, like I saw 10 minutes kind of told me that I would have 3 sections. Then the next time that showed up was 6 minutes, 30 seconds. So that told me, oh, okay, this time I'll be listening to 2 different audio files, and the final one was just 4 minutes. So I knew I listened to 6 different audios, 4 conversations, 3 conversations, 3 lectures, and I could tell because of the time that came, 10 minutes came first. I knew I had to use it for 3 sections. So when you skip a question in reading section, you can always go back. But in the listening, you cannot go back. So you have to pay careful attention because it's read as very easy. What have you heard? Answer. What have you heard? Answer. What have you heard? Answer. So you click the answer as you go and you move along. You do not get to go back to revisit things. So please take note of that for the reading section and pay special attention to that as you go so that you're answering the questions as you go forward. So generally you take a break after the listening section and then you come back for your speaking section. I will speak about the break at the end of this section. I have about 8 more minutes. So now when it comes to the speaking of English language, generally everybody's a giant in their room when they are reading a textbook or studying for an exam. At least it's written in English. I've been taught English and I can read English. When I'm listening, well, I still know how to show myself to people. When it comes to speaking, because speaking involves appearing before people, and one of on your exam day, actually, you'll be speaking into a microphone and recording your answer. So when you record your answer, when you make a recording of your answer, that answer is what will be listened to by the evaluator, and then it will be adjudged and marked. So when that has been graded, then you now get your score back after a couple of days. So, but generally, when people speak English, they tend to want to shy away because they are not as confident as when they are reading or when they are listening and all that. So it happens, and one of the ways to always deal with this is to practice speaking English, because the speaking section generally involves 4 tasks. You have 1 question and then 3 other questions. The first question is called independent speaking. Independent in simple words just mean it's a speaking where you just ask a question, tell us about an experience where you had 1 or 2 things, and give us 2 reasons why you chose that experience. Or you could hear the question like, tell us about your most memorable experience during your undergraduate days, and give 2 reasons why they were your most memorable experience. So the average time you would have to prepare on the TOEFL is about 15 to 30 seconds. And then you would have 45 seconds for your first question to record an answer. So it helps to always maybe have a structure about how exactly you want to answer your question. So 15 to 30 seconds, you have to think about your answer. You have to start writing down, okay, do I want to talk about this point, this, mention this, and then go straight into exactly what exactly you want to say. So 15 to 30 seconds of preparation, and then you have 45 to 60 seconds to make a recording of your answer. I want to say this one thing clearly to you. The TOEFL is trying to test if you have if you can use the English language well. What does it involve if you can use the English language well? Do you understand it? Can you speak it? And can you respond with it? So one of the key things you should note in your speaking is this. Have one goal in mind. Answer the question in the voice prompt. In our guide, we have given you some links that you can use to go and check out videos that are very helpful and will give you a detailed structure on how you can prepare a response. But I want to say this, those responses or the structures, they might not be necessarily absolute. Honestly, I will give you an example. For my exam, I had structures. I had exactly I wanted to answer question 1, question 2, question 3, question 4. Then I got into the exam and I fidgeted. I kind of forgot because my center didn't allow us to write when your time wasn't counting down. So that kind of got me unstable because I thought I would be able to write when I am not doing anything. But then I couldn't do that. So when I could not do that, it affected me and then I kind of forgot the structure. So I was fidgeting and I wasn't answering based on the structure I had prepared. But I remembered one thing that I just told myself, I need to just answer the question. So the question is saying, you have listened to this lecture. What are the 2 reasons the professors gave? I cannot remember my structure, but I can remember the 2 reasons the professor gave because I wrote them down as he was saying it. So in your speaking section, you would have question 1, you're supposed to speak on a point, it's general. Questions 2 to 4 is integrated. It means that you have to maybe listen to an audio, read a passage, you think about what has been said, and then you prepare a response, and then you speak. Generally, don't forget, 15 to 30 seconds to maybe prepare, 45 to 60 seconds to record. So audio you might listen to might be anywhere from 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and then you just have to prepare your answers. So for this as well, my advice to you is to use the EDX course that we recommended in our outline, as well as the noteful videos that are also in the guide that we have provided for you. Thank you very much. So finally, this section, I would try to dwell a little bit on it. Why? Because Adewale had done a very, very good work about what he had explained to us on GRE. That was very awesome. That was awesome. I mean, I have written the GRE myself and I learned so much. I felt like I should have actually listened to this before I wrote my GRE writing part. And then for me as well, I had written the GRE before I wrote the TOEFL. But then in hindsight, I think that I would have loved to have prepared for both of them at the same time and then implement some of the things I had learned preparing for TOEFL in GRE, because honestly, I had a perfect score in my TOEFL writing. And of all the sections that I did, reading, writing, speaking, they were relatively simpler. But at the time I was done the exam, well, I was sure I was going to get a perfect score. I was sure. So when I got a 30 out of a 30 in writing in my TOEFL writing section, I wasn't shocked. And the exact way I got that score, the exact way I formed my thoughts. Now let me have you know this that sorry, I'm seeing some comments in the chat box. It's making me laugh. Let me have you note this, that actually I'm not, I love to write, yes, but I want you to notice that you know that even someone that has no experience at all or does not like writing at all, with a guide that we are prepared for you, there is a special link on getting ideas. I will share what the video looks like on YouTube to you right now, and then maybe pick one point on what was said in that video in the final 3 minutes I have. You would see that it will guide you exactly on how to go about making your write-up, how to develop your body based on what Adewale had said and buttressing. Now, that was the GRE's TOEFL, but they are both a test of your English language, so the structures are the same. So in your writing, you would have two tasks. The task generally, one of them, which is always the first, is integrated. It's always involving two things. First, you read a passage. Second thing you do is that, yes, we'll get the software across to you, please. First is you read a passage. Second thing is you listen to an audio. Now, always prepare for this. The passage you read will most likely always state 3 reasons why they are saying what they're saying. The audio would always seek to antagonize or to state claims why what was said in the passage might not be right, or some of the things explaining its inefficiencies, and then you need to explore that and then work to write out, okay, this was said in the write-up, this was said in the passage. So the structure is something I will show you on the next page of this slide. But in independent writing, it's similar to the writing in the GRE analytical writing section, which is to analyze an issue in the sense that your ingenuity and your originality is what is coming to play here. It's independent. You just be given a topic to write on. I mean, I remember for me, really, in my own topic, I have to write about something on people expressing their ideas and staying true. I'm trying to put it in the exact form. I'll record and then I will share with us, because I remember at the time I had mine, because in October, NSAS had just happened in Nigeria, and that was practically what I wrote about. I wrote about the NSAS, and I mean, the result speaks for itself. So content is king. I would say this one thing about writing before I share with my final words. Yes, it's that generally a study was done that I read before my TOEFL, and then it was shown that, okay, what's the one thing that is similar to any essay writing, whether in the GRE or anywhere, that makes them score high? And it was not the choice of words they used, it was not the vocabulary that was put in, it was not the lexis, it was not the structure, it was not the way the line was orchestrated or the way it was arranged. One of the things that was common to every high scoring essay was the length, which was how long was the essay, what was the content in the essay, how was the essay written, how many words was it. So generally, content is king. You want to make sure you write as much as you can, but then what you write must make sense. We cannot overemphasize the place of practice. Practice is what will get you to be perfect. The links we have shared with you, the materials in our guide, please digest and ingest them as much as you can. This is just showing what the content of the integrated and independent writing is. Generally, for your independent writing, as regards content, 350 words would suffice. But
you have 1 minute.
Yes. But for me, really, I would say you target much more than that so that you raise your ceiling above that. The structure on this slide, I would advise that this is one thing you should use. the video that is exactly in the link of getting ideas, please visit that video. Pen down and write exactly as it was stated in that video, what was taught and everything. On the final day, we advise you to pick a morning time for your exam, because the TOEFL can be disturbing at times when people are speaking in their section, you are still trying to listen or writing. So get there on time, get into the venue early, try as much as possible to pick a morning session. For centers might vary, but some centers will allow you to leave your seats during the break to go and ease yourself, take water if you brought water, eat a snack and all that. So you should be ready to maybe take a walk, just go and prepare, just take a walk, ease yourself off during your 10 minutes break so you can come back fresh for your speaking and your writing section. All in all, no matter what happens, as you prepare, you know that your preparation is going to pay off. And I would just like to say that you've actually got this and you can get that score you really desire in your test of English as a foreign language. So thank you very much, guys. That's my time. I'll take any questions now.
Totally, you've got this. You've got this. Thank you so much, Mayor. I should be giving an e-clap, but I'm doing this physically. Thank you very much for that detailed presentation. I'm sure everyone in the audience, they learned a whole lot, particularly with Acing TOEFL. So I look forward to a lot of 120 over 120, 118 over 118.
That'll be awesome. Yes, very possible.
There are there are some questions in the chat. I think they're really about links and all that. So we've posted the link to the ebook. Please try to visit the link and download the ebook for free. And we've posted the link to our YouTube channel where you can always watch this again whenever you want. So we'll just move right into the next.
So, I want to just say one thing. Topic. Yeah, I said I want to state something. Okay, somebody asked about preparing for TOEFL alongside GRE. So it's not impossible. Like I said, the TOEFL is almost like saying you're preparing for just an English arm of your GRE. So you could, it's always good to space out your exams. I mean, take your GRE and then leave maybe a week before you take your TOEFL so that you can have that week to review materials and all of that. So, but it's something you can prepare for alongside it. But please give more time to your GRE-QUANT verbal section. Those things are time. You need time to practice and get very, very good on them, and I wish you guys the very best. So you can prepare for both of them alongside each other, but just make sure that you give maybe at least a week between both exams so that you can always review what you have read and prepared for. So thank you very much.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Mayor. You can respond to the rest of the chat box. So yes, move right straight to the next topic. Your academic CV or resume. So this is a very, very important part, and I'm sure there are a number of us that probably have issues with what should be in our academic CV. Do I need to put my marital status? Do I need to put my date of birth? Do I need to put so many things that are probably not necessary in your academic CV? So our facilitator for today is Damilola Petirin. So Damilola is going to be taking us through academic CV and resumes. Dami is a 2020 iSI scholar and a graduate of Federal University of Technology at PREREQUISITE, and she has received fully funded PhD offers in the US. Something very interesting about Dami is she also received a fellowship beyond graduate assistantship that she got from her school. And I'm sure that our application portfolio, that's like the total package, had something to do with this. So Dami is going to be taking us through the academic CV or resume, which is also an important part of your application portfolio. Dami, you can go on now.
Good evening. Good evening. Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
Your slide will come up now. A few seconds.
You were saying?
Yeah. So you can go on, Dami. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Faidat. Good evening, everybody. My name is Damilola Petinrin. Yeah. Okay. Before I start, um, I would like to say thank you to ISI for this opportunity, and then okay. So let's not waste too much time on that. They've done the introduction already. So I'll be speaking on academic CV, and then how you can develop one for yourself. Like I feel that like the whole application package is really really important. Like the whole package is important. No part is of less importance. The GRE, the SOP, the CV, your LOR, they are all important. So you shouldn't take any part with, okay, I don't think they will consider this that much or this. They actually look at all the package. So now a CV. I'm sure we all know what a CV is. What a CV is, what is the purpose or the importance. And personally for me, I think, or I know that okay, CV is like a document that gives someone an idea of your activities. I'm sorry, I won't be putting on my video for network reasons, so sorry about that. So like a CV is like a document that like gives someone, like probably a stranger or someone you know or something, that someone an idea of your activities, probably your past activities, and then the current one, and then could actually give that person an idea of what your career path, or what you might be interested in doing or getting involved in. So like that's what a CV is. Like okay, let's say for instance now, let's use Faidat now for example. So like looking at Faidat's CV now, for some of us that know her, like like to some extent, from the CV we can see what she has been doing for like few years back, studying at UI, then getting involved in some of these that did extracurriculars activities. You would definitely see that on the CV, so you can have idea of what one has been doing for a while back on their CV. So now for an academic CV now, as the name implies now, is a CV basically meant for the academic purpose. Like it's a CV that talks now about the academic line. We all know that okay, the reason why we are in ISI, got the ISI scholarship, is because we all want to study. Not that we are going to the US in search of a job or something. We all want to study. So that's why we will be needing an academic CV now for this part of our application, which is not our work CV, as opposed to the one that most of us know. We'll be needing the academic CV here because okay, we need it for the academic purpose now. So an academic CV is basically meant for the academic purpose. It is an opportunity to sell yourself to the admission committee of the scholarship you are applying to. Like it is an opportunity for you to like introduce yourself to people that you've not met before. Sorry, excuse me. So if you are like sending out your work CV now to probably an organization online, you don't know the kind of person that will be viewing that CV. So you need to like put in your best into that document, that once that person sees it, person will be like, oh, she has done this, she has acquired this, she has these skills, she has that, she has this. Okay, I think this person is like a best fit. So you must have like put forward your best sure, yeah, you're like you've like done the best into that document to like portray yourself well to those people, like to make them feel that okay, I think this is the best candidate, this is the right candidate for this opportunity. So it is an opportunity to like tell the set of people that you've not met before that okay, i'm like I'm the best. If you have 1,000 applicants, I'm the best. I think you should pick me. I know for sure that okay, I'm the best. So in doing that, it is a document that you know that gives you the right to do that. it is like in the whole of the package, like I said, you can, the whole of the application package, they are all important. So your CV gives you the opportunity to, tell those people that, okay, I have what you need. You need someone that have skills in this, I have it. You need someone that have done this, I have it. You need someone that has first class, I have it. You need someone that have this particular level of CGPA, I have it. So that is like your opportunity. So now, next is we know we are very well familiar with the work CV. Now, how does the academic CV now differs from the work CV that we know? Like, how does it differ? How does it differ from the work CV that we know? In purpose, it differs. Like I said, academic CV is meant for the academic purpose. Then the next is the content. Content, it differs in content. Like, I remember when I was trying to like apply for jobs, reviewing my work CV, I tried to put in some of my scholarship, now as for first class, they'll be like, no, you cannot put this, so take this one out. This one is not important, So there are some contents that in your work CV that are irrelevant there are some contents that are in your academic CV that are irrelevant in the work CV, and there are some things that you need to put in your academic CV. And then the length as well. At times you can go beyond a page now for your, we are all fresh graduate, and it is advised to keep your work CV in like a page, but for your academic CV you can go beyond that one page. You could have like 2 or even 3 pages, but it is at best to keep it at 2 pages for now. So now I'm going to talking about the components. Now, what and what should be in your academic CV? What and what should be in your academic CV? The first thing should be the title. The title is the component of a CV that tells the person your name, your address, your phone number, anything that has to do with like contact information about you. That's what the title. And then I've actually put an outline of how you could arrange that here in the slide. Then the next is the research interest. Now I know we're all going for masters and some PhDs, and then you'll be conducting research. So you need to have like a research focus where you would want to focus on in your field. You cannot say you want to have a master's in the whole of chemistry. You should have a field. So you should carve out a research interest for yourself. Education, I've written like an educational background. Then from name of your school, the year, the course you studied, and then some other interesting point about you, your CGPA. If you are the top, if you are the top 1%, top 5%, put it there, let them know. And I remember my mentor then, when I was reviewing my CV, it was like, you have to like make your CGPA bold, let them see it, like shout it, So you have to make it bold. Put some of those things that is relevant on your CV, your thesis, your courses, your relevant courses that is I said relevant courses. They are like courses that you took in your undergraduate that are relevant to that application that you are submitting. So it means you must have made some research. Now the next is your experience. Now, I said this includes your research experience, the work and industrial experience, the teaching experience as well, like your research experience and the teaching experience. These, you put the teaching experience before the work experience. All in all, your research for experience is very easy. After your education, just keep your research experience after your education. Spell out what you can use your undergraduate work. Spell out what you did, what you achieved. Then your industrial experience is experience that are relevant to the application, to like take classes, you can always put it there. Then the next is publications. If you have publications, if you have published work, you can put it in this part, because all those things, they actually add like points to your applications once they are like reviewing it or weighing them. Then the next is awards and recognitions. All the awards, all the this in school, best something, best is best graduating students, all the iScholar Initiative Award. You can always add those things at this point, and then make sure that you have to make sure that you're actually keeping them, you know, you're actually making it brief. Yeah, not that you want to add, okay, I Scholar Initiative Award, something 2020. You have to make it brief. Then you have to add your certifications, all the courses that you took, both online and offline, that is relevant. I keep stressing relevance. You have to add them now to this part. If you've taken courses on Coursera, or you've attended an organization, and then for some of us that even did this HSC or PMP and all that, if it is relevant to the application, now you have to put them here. Then the conferences, the conferences you've attended too, you have to put them there. If you have extracurriculars activities, there are some of us that while at university, you're part of this club, you were a leader in your fellow in leadership. You were a lead. It might not even be like a full unit. It might just be like a little part of the fellow, or of an organization, but you led something. You have to put it there. They are like your extracurricular activities. Then conferences attended and workshops. If you attended all the conferences, I remember then I had to start looking for all the all the conferences that I attended while in school, because I didn't even know that they would be important. Now I had to start looking for the name of all those stuff like that. So conferences attended, either you present. There are some of us that had the opportunity to present your maybe a part of your work in a conference. You can put it there. But either you presented or you were in attendance, you can always put it there. Then your skills. Then skills are relevant to your applications. Skills are relevant. The fact that you've acquired one skill, something like that, does not mean you just have to just put everything in an application, even when you know that these things they are irrelevant. They are irrelevant. Then, like I said, your leadership extracurriculars, and also if you have any volunteering activities, they're also part of the extracurriculars. I forgot to mention that they're also part of your extracurriculars. Anything that you do in like some of your time, you have to put them there. You know that it is relevant to this application, keep them there. Then I know we all have the iScholar guide. You can always check the iScholar guide for various CV samples, CV samples. So now I'll move to the do's of an academic CV. What are those things that you need to know? You need to know before you go ahead and create your own CV. What are those things that you need to keep in mind? So the first thing is you have to keep your CV as brief as you can. I mentioned earlier that you can always go beyond the 1 page of a work CV. You can have a 2-page CV, but then please keep your CV as brief as you can. That was why I keep stressing putting in relevant stuff. Don't, in the name of having, I want to have a 3 pages of CV, then you keep packing one award from your I don't know from anywhere, and then just bombarding your CV with just anyhow. There are some courses that you will take on Coursera and or online that you will know clearly that they are not relevant to this application, then that you have to take out. So you have to just keep the relevant stuff. Then the next is you have to keep your focus on describing your accomplishments using action verbs to indicate your strength and skills. What I'm saying at this part is, just use a lot of like a very nice sentence in you describing your accomplishment, like under the part of your probably your experience. You are trying to explain what you've done. You get probably you taught a class of this social amount, and then you have to tell them what you achieved. Not that okay, I took SS1 class chemistry. No, you have to like tell them, okay, the class of this number, and then I achieve this. So you have to mention your achievement and all that. So then you have to keep your CV neat. You have to make sure your CV is neat and tidy. Like, don't just disorganize everything and then just pack this on, pack this on, pack this on. No. And I said you have to tailor it to the purpose you are sending it out for. So that's the part of keeping in the relevant stuff. You have to like have made research on the scholarship that you are sending your CV to. Know that okay, they will need to see this on my CV. They will need to see this on my CV. So you don't have to you have to like take out some things out and then put in some things. There are some times that I will need to like edit my research interest at times for some applications, because I know that okay, this particular school does not have this research. So if they don't have this research, it means they will even like like would have cut me out from my CV. So the next is you have to read and proofread your CV for consistency and grammar. Don't just write your CV once and then that's all. You have to like read and read. Yeah. So I'll be moving to the don'ts of an academic CV. What are those things that you shouldn't do on your CV? So I've like said it so many times. Don't put irrelevant stuff on your CV. Don't. No. So also you have to avoid some words on your CV. You have to avoid some words, some personal pronouns like I did this, I did that, I took this. No, you have to avoid those stuff. That was why I said earlier that you have to use some some action words. Now, like I like organized something, to thoughts this and all that. So you have to note those action verbs and use them. And then professor, we conducted the research. No, it would have been better said if we conducted the research in collaboration with my professor on this. It is better that way than avoid the use of I. And also don't include personal information or photograph on your CV. Don't, unless you like check the prompt of the scholarship you're applying to and they ask you to do that. But if they don't put all those things. If there's okay, we want to see your face, put your photograph, then fine. Okay, we want to know some personal information like your religion, your state of origin, your tribe and all that, then you can put that. But if it is not stated, they don't really need those things. Yeah. So another thing is don't include the popular last line. This is actually not that it's a crime though, but then it is actually not needed, because you will, even if since it is like an academic CV, you will be sending your this thing to them. They will be requesting for your reference. So you don't actually need to you know keep all those things. Keep this one, just take it out and then use the space for something else. So and then avoid lies in your CV, because you want to make yourself look good. You want to like pack courses that you didn't take. You want to like put an activities that you were not part of. Like, you need to like make sure that you're actually telling the truth. And also acronyms avoid acronyms in your CV. Like, okay, blah blah blah, this is OAU, this is something something UI. Like, you have to avoid all those things in your CV. Like, if you are going to like make sure that well stated, And lastly, I'll be talking about, like, before I go, I'm talking about the steps, like how you can create your own CV from start. How you can create your CV from start. And in doing that, like, this is not like, okay, it is a rule or something. This is just how I feel you should, like, how I think, okay, if you do this, you can actually get a good CV out of it. Because before I actually created my own CV, I saw so many CV. I'll be like, okay, wow, did you do this yourself? I'll be like, okay, I created it myself. You did this one yourself. Wow, like, I'll be so surprised as if I'm not from this world. But then I had to like sit down, and I was like, okay, these people did this in themselves, so I think I can do it myself as well. So and then also I feel that creating your own CV from like scratch to finish is actually better, because it gives you time to actually think about all those components yourself. You understand? So in creating your CV now, the first thing you need to do is like take out time to check out CV samples. You could request for some of these scholars, those ones that have their CV already, if they can share their CV with you. Take out time to like look through all of them, check out samples online. The iScholar guide has samples. Check out samples online to have like a mental picture of, what you'll be creating, what you need to do. So once you have so many samples checked out, then you have to like pick out all these components one after the other. Like from the title, create a draft. Your research interest, have a draft. Then all other background, all other components, sorry, you have to like have a draft of what it is all about. Then once you've done that, then your experience, you write it down, all your activities, you write all of them down in details. So after you've done that, then you can then go ahead and start summarizing all those details, all those achievements that you've written down. Possibly when you were serving at, okay, maybe we were posted to a school, you took chemistry. Sorry, I'm using chemistry. I studied chemistry. So you were posted to a school, and then you were posted to a school, and then you took chemistry, you took a class, then after that, probably took you were in a debate, or you were of students under, because you are just trying to know the space you get. So after you've done that, you've summarized them, then now compile them one after the other. So by the time you've done that, from your title to your research interest to your education to experience, you'll see that, okay, I have my CV already. Then what I need to do is start arranging, start creating space, changing the font size, or the page, so that you can have enough space to accommodate the distance. So once you've done that, then that's all I did when I was creating my CV. So that's like, sorry, yeah. When I was creating my CV, I had help from one of my mentors. He just sent me like a more like a skeleton of ease. So I was working with it to create mine. So if you do that, like it will be easy, because while looking at, while using app, some people use app to create their CV. While using so many apps to do that, you might actually not be able to, edit. There are times that I would have to edit so many out of my CV, because some things I would put 4 or 5 CV for when I was applying, different CV for this. If I'm applying for this research area, then it is this one. If I'm applying for this, it is this one. So that's like how all you need to do. Then after you've done that, then you have to send your CV out for review. Make sure that you have enough people to review your CV for you. So after that, I think you're done. That's like all you need to do. So I think my time is up. Thank you,
Yes.
thank you
Thank you
so
so
much for
much,
listening.
Dami. Thank you so much for this detailed explanation presentation. I particularly like that you, at the end, you allowed us to know that we can actually create our CVs or resumes by ourselves. You honestly, you do not need to pay anyone to actually help you create your CV. You once you follow just what she has said, it would be easy for you, and it is easier that way because anytime you have something new, you'd be able to update and all that because you have control over it more than when it's someone that created it for you. So in our iScholar Guide ebook, we actually have um a CV template which you should check out. It's like a skeleton of what your academic CV should look like. So I think it is something for you to check. It would be a very, very valuable one. So moving on, because we've spent a lot of time. This is our last session. Acing grad school interviews. So you've gone through all the process. You've done everything. Selected school. You've applied. You've written your GRE. You've done every single thing you need to do. And at the end, a lot of schools would usually want you to have interviews. And sometimes when you email a professor, it could also ask that, let's have a sort of interview. How do you ace these interviews? And for professors that even maybe respond to you now, how do you foster relationship with them? So we have Victor Awoshiji. So Victor is a 2020 iScholar and a graduate of the Federal University of Technology, Akure. I know Futarians in the house will start saying great Futarian. Well, so Victor received a fully funded master's offer in the US, and something very interesting about him is, like you can see on my screen, Victor took a long shot, or should I say he made a long shot, and it was on target. So Victor is going to be starting at he's going to be joining Stanford University by fall 2021. I'm sure when he's done, we're going to hear from him to know how he made sure that his shot was on target. Not like some people that while in front of the goalpost, they sometimes miss the shot. So Victor, you have the floor. Yeah, Victor, we can hear you, we can see you, but you need to unmute. Okay. Are you able to unmute now? We can hear you. Your mic is muted. Try to unmute. Okay, sure.
Yeah,
sure,
good.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good.
There we go. Okay. Okay. It's okay now, right?
Yes.
Yes, so we can hear you.
Oh, perfect. So I'm just going to share my screen. Wait a second. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, good. So good evening to you, everybody. It's really nice being with you guys this evening. And thanks to iScholar for this amazing opportunity to allow us to share ideas together. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about fostering relationship and acing the grad school interview. So just to be clear here, these opinions are mine and our opinions I garnered from those that I've interacted with over the years, and not of Stanford University admission policy or any university admission policy whatsoever. So my topic around the gamut, from anatomy of graduate research funding down to going the extra mile, and of course, praying. It's very important. First, of all, I want to make you guys understand something. Now, I need you guys to just calm down a little bit. And you've seen what you're supposed to do when you're writing, when you want to write your GRE, how to ace your GRE, how to ace your TOEFL, how to ace each section of the exams that you're supposed to take, and even your academic CV, your statement of purpose. We've gone through all these things. But a very important aspect that you really need to understand to really have a grasp of this whole, I call it game, is to understand where the money is coming from. You're going to graduate school, and take note that your grad school funding, the money they're giving you, if you're getting a fully funded offer, it is not a reward of your academic excellence. You're not being paid because, oh my God, you have a very good application, or you're amazing. You're paid to come and work. So if you're going to the United States, you're applying to grad school, it is not free money. Although it's kind of like free money, but it is not free money, right? So you're paid to come and work. So here's the anatomy. Professors are very, very powerful in the United States. They are very powerful. They have almost a kind of like total control on admission processes. They really decide who comes into their lab or who doesn't come into their lab, as opposed to other countries, like most European countries, where you apply and then the AO committee kind of like considers the application and okay, we are admitting just 20 students to our department based on their ranking or whatever it might be. But here it's different. Most of my colleagues have talked about professors. You name professors. These professors have what we call grants. And that grant money is used to fund research. Now, these professors have to deliver for the funding body that is giving them the money, right? Now, these professors can't do it all by themselves. That's why they have to hire graduate students like you and me to come do that research, right? So let's say a particular professor gets $1 million in research funding to do a particular project in, let's say, in maybe it's a chemical engineering department, let's say it's a physics department to do something in astrophysics, right? That professor must deliver. Let's say it's for 5 years, funding $1 million for 5 years. He will budget that $1 million for 5 years. And each year he brings in PhD or master students to come do that work, right? So if there's money available, he can take you in. If there's no money, you cannot enter. So it's as simple as that. So what are the sources of this funding? Two main sources: from the federal source, that is from the US government, right? For science students, it majorly comes from the science, NSF, the National Science Foundation. Last year, the US government disbursed about $8.3 billion for science projects, and also other national science where like NASA, we've talked about, we've seen, I think in the month of May, where the Perseverance went to Mars to go and take some data and stuff like that. Those money for research, those are actually products of years of research, right? That are just manifesting for NASA and stuff like that. Now, from grants also come, these professors also get grants from private sources, like professional societies. For each of our courses, we all belong to different professional societies. And these professional societies also give funds to this professor to do research, to further, broaden the scope of discussion of research in that, society. Also for guys in whatever is it, economics or non-science background, you have fundings from companies like JP Morgan, Shell, Facebook, Bank of America, and the likes. So that's where the money comes from. Now that you now understand where you fit into the spectrum of the whole discussion, now let's talk about what you should do first when you're applying to a grad school. Number one thing is to check for fit. Do you fit? I think this is the most important word when you're applying to grad school. FIT, 3-letter words, fit. If you don't fit into a particular program, you're not going to get in that program. It's as simple as that. You're most likely not going to get into that program. And for you to understand if you fit, you have to first check yourself first. Take a step back, understand, what do I love? Okay, I am a geology student. I love sedimentology. I don't love all the aspects of geology. I only love sedimentology because throughout the years, all my research and stuff I've done is in sedimentology. So going for a grad school, they will see me as someone serious. Okay, look at the CV, look at his statement of purpose, or he has said, okay, everything is pointing towards that direction. That is cool, right? Although I can still change to a grad school, it's still acceptable, but there's an high chance for me to gain. It's like, see yourself as you're in a kind of like a law court, right? And you're trying to defend a case for a client. You have to have evidence for that particular cause. So what do you love? You have to tell yourself, you have to ask yourself that question. It's very important. Look for those that you love, right? I mean, grad school is very, very tough. That's plain true. I'm going to be practical with you guys. Grad school is tough. As much as you want to Japan, it is tough. What you're going for research. It's simple as that. It's tougher when you're even doing a research that you're not really interested in, or in the name of, I want to get out of this country. I just find somewhere and I'm lucky enough to get into something. It's a particular research. Oh, do you love to research? Victor, are you sure? Oh, yeah, I love this research. Let me just get out of this country. And then you go do a research you're not interested in. You might burn out of that program. So apply to those that you love. Look for schools that are doing what you love and apply to those that you love. Not all schools. Over 4,000 universities in the United States. You can't apply to all schools because it's not all schools that are doing what you're interested in or the research you're interested in. So you have to look for them. Painstakingly have to look for them. Explore the power of association. I cannot overemphasize this. This is very important. This is a very important concept that will really get you into your graduate program. Association. So here's a spreadsheet that I prepared towards the end of last year, I think sometimes August, where I kind of like, okay, wait, I'm applying to schools. I've talked to myself. I understand the aspect of research I want to do, or a series of research that I'm interested in that are closely related. Now I have to look for schools that are doing this thing. So I kind of came up with this spreadsheet, and then I had, okay, ranking is not really important, but I just put it there. The university, the states, they are, what degree type, you understand? What's the funding availability? What's the program description? You know, stuff like that, requirements from each program. You don't just want to know that, okay, I'll be applying to University of Arizona, I'll be applying to University of Maine, I'll be applying to University of Delaware. You are human. Even the sharpest of brain is not as good as the dullest of pen. So having just this little bit of work is very important to really get you through. Here is the first email I got from a particular professor at Stanford University when I first of all sent him an email. And I was shocked because he wrote a very long email. You can see it was kind of like a congratulations. I'm impressed by your. Why did I get this kind of email? Because I only applied to school that I fit. I was rejected at Caltech, California Institute of Technology, because they were doing research, although it's geology also, but the research is geared towards space exploration. I don't have any experience in space exploration, but I was only interested in a particular aspect of that state of space exploration. Well, that was the first rejection I get in my grad school application. So you can't just say you want to apply to so many schools, then that increases your chances. Look at my face. No, it doesn't increase your chances. Applying to so many schools doesn't increase your chances. Applying to schools that you fit, just a few of them will actually increase your chances of getting in. So build academic relationships. It's very important to build academic relationships by reading professors' research paper. I know it could be so kind of like, no, I've left school, I'm doing a rising president, I've even forgotten about book and stuff like that. You need to read research paper because you are going to graduate program and you are going to read a whole lot of research paper. So the earlier you get started, the better for you. Read research paper that only interest you. You don't want to read all type of research papers. I mean, like, who does that? And of course, you don't have to read the whole paper. Just read, take a paper that you're interested in, a professor that is doing something you love, right? And then read the topic, read the introduction, the abstract, results, and conclusion. You're going to get understanding of what the whole paper is all about. Harness the power of social media. Join academic Twitter. Like, it's not those handles that talk about scholarship stuff. No, professional academic Twitter. That is, follow people that are in your field, right? Follow them on social media. I mean, such that most of your field would be, talking about really, most of it will really kind of like, stuff that are related to what you're interested in. And when they post opportunities, you're going to first and see them, right? Reach out to people in your field. They'll tell you who is doing what and what. I can remember a mentor of mine at West Virginia. She sat me down in a Zoom meeting like this and told me, I talked to her about my interest, right? And then she gave me like 15 names to contact. Hey, talk to this guy, he's working on this. Talk to this guy in this university, he's working on this. Oh, talk to this guy, oh my God, he's doing it very, but I think they have research funding. She's also a professor. She's really understand what is going on. So reach out to people in your field. It's really going to help you, right? The holy grail, oh my God, you cannot emphasize that you have to reach out to graduate students in that particular department because they're going to tell you, don't apply to that professor or that guy. On paper, he's looking good, but oh my God, he's a hell to work with. It's going to make life difficult for you. So you don't want to go to those kind of programs, right? And you don't want to apply to those kind of programs. So graduate student will tell you the truth about what is happening there. Just like, let's say, for example, you went to OAU and in your department, you know all your professors, right? And then you can tell a student that just wants to apply to your department, no good deal, that place, nah, hello, something like that. So you really want to understand from perspective of graduate. The more you seek, the more you know. It's as simple as that. If you're really interested in getting, you will really get it. So you have to keep asking questions throughout, asking questions. Oh, how do I get better? How do I get to this program? How do I get in? What did you do? Now let's talk about the interview proper. So now let's say you've submitted all your applications and stuff like that, and it's time to it's sometimes around the next year, because if you apply to the US, you apply this year, I think next year. So it's sometimes next year, and then it's time to interview, right? This map, it's the road path of everybody. You can see everybody on this map is facing different direction. That is the way everybody's path is unique on this journey, right? So nothing is cast on stone. All what we are telling you here is just a guide, right? And if you follow them to an extent, there's an high chance that you're going to be successful. So just get in, right? And share your story later. So the official interview. So this type of interview is set up by the department, right? Or a professor after you submitted your application, right? I mean, you've submitted your application, your GRE, your statement of purpose, your resume, and then they were like, okay, now out of 600 students that applied to our department, we can only pick 11, right? So they've actually sorted out. If you get this invite, congratulations, because you are kind of like 50% in, one leg in already. And they want to remove, they invited 20 of you, and they want to remove, of course, they can only admit 11, and they invited 20. That means 9 have to go, right? They want to judge your sense of reason and evaluate if you fit into that program. First thing you have to do first, when you get that kind of invite, is to first of all, read your statement of purpose. You have to understand, it might sound like a cliche because you are the one that wrote the statement of purpose, but read it again, right? And read your resume so that when you're talking, you know what you're saying. How do you prepare for this kind of interview? An official interview, oh my God, I go official interview. So what next, right? Number one thing you want to add first is to have a very strong internet connection. With the proliferation of virtual meeting platforms like Zoom, like Remo and stuff like that, everything is now virtual. You want to have a very strong internet connection. Good lighting. You don't want to appear like a shadow in front of your white man that's just seeing for the first time. Hey, Victor, I can't really see you. Can you kind of like, they really want to know you as a person, like they are meeting in person. So you want to simulate something like that. Wear something comfortable. You don't have to wear tie, jacket, and suit and everything. Not necessary, but just wear something that is really comfy. Read your SOP, I can't emphasize that. Possible questions that they can ask you. Most times, the first question is, tell us about yourself. And that is really a very big question. And what you should tell them is just your academic. Keep it academic, right? About, okay, my underlevel, blah, 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 I did this research. If you didn't do any research, you took a particular course that's kind of like is in line with what you're interested in. Okay, my tutorial level, I did this, I did that. In my tutorial level, you can kind of like keep it like that in chronological order and kind of like walk them through your undergraduate experiences. Okay, maybe I've graduated. This is what I did. I took these courses. I went for this conference. I presented. Just keep it academic, right? Now, why this program? They can ask you that question. For example, I was asked this tricky question why interviewing with Stanford. They said, why this program? Some student might fall into that trap. Oh my God, come on, Stanford. Like, who doesn't want to go to Stanford? But I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, this program, because I enjoyed the research of this person. I mean, I read this paper titled blah, 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 blah. And then I know that if I have to do this research, then I have to work with Professor XXX at Bayesian and Petrone System Modeling Group. You understand? I mean, that's a strong case. And then I later went about, oh, I love California, the weather is cool, blah, 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 you know, stuff like that, you know, not really. So if you're applying to a top school or you get invited from a top school, please don't tell them that it's because of your name, that's how to come. And if it's just a normal school, right, why this program? You have to talk about how interested you are. In fact, there you really have to prove why you really love their program and why them? Because they don't want to give you admission and then you reject them later. So do you have any question for us? They can ask you that question at the end of the whole interview, because it's supposed to be an interaction, right? Not a one-way discussion. Do you have any question for us? You must have a question for them. That is why I attach these 2 YouTube resources of videos. And if you read that guide in the interview section, you will see these links there. So you can always check. Unofficial interviews. Now, the way I've been talking, some of you have been scared, or some of you are like, I don't want to jack my again. Calm down. It's not as difficult as it sounds. It's just that you have to be really interested in what you want to do. Unofficial interviews, I kind of see it as the more unofficial interview you have, the higher your chances. I mean, these people are human beings, right? And human beings, they're not machines, right? If you explain your situation, if you show how passionate you are, they really want to interact with you. So this type of interview is set up by a lab, a professor or a lab PI, that's a principal investigator of a lab, to get to know you. After you sent your first email, you requested for a Zoom meeting, and then okay, let's set up a meeting, you know. So this might even come after submitting your application. Now, not all schools does the official interview, right? For example, I applied to Virginia Tech, and after I submitted my application, no panel talked to me. It was just my professor that was like, okay, Victor, let's talk. And then what was the talk all about? Just about, okay, this is what we do in our lab. It could be just as simple as that. So it might be an interaction and not an interview. So win the out of your professors by showing that you've done a lot during your undergraduate. I mean, talk about the courses you've taken. Those courses are not small. You might think, oh my God, courses that I tell more the way that professor. If you have an A, I mean, that's positive, right? That's a good thing. Talk about the course. Talk about things that you've done outside your classroom. I mean, I got a professor at Stanford wrote to me, we love your leadership experience. We are really impressed by that. How does leadership experience even have to do with my research? Really, it doesn't. But it says something about independent thought. That is, if you're a leader, there's an high tendency, or really, you can think independent, you know, something like. So someone talked about if I should put my leadership experience. Just wanted to highlight that. It's easier to convince a professor than a panel. That's why if you have a kind of unofficial interview, you want to try as much as possible to impress that person. So how do you win your professors to your side? Number one thing is to talk to his or her graduate students. Like when you talk to graduate students, they will tell you the truth about a particular professor, right? Peruse the website of the professor. I mean, read the website of the professor, even before sending your first email. And the more this professor updates their website every time, almost every month, new details. You want to go there, you want to check back. What is the new development? You know, find genuine links between you and that professor. I'm going to show you a slide where I wrote to a particular professor that I knew on Twitter. Like the first time I connected to him was on Twitter, and I never had the intention of even applying to that school at all initially. Sometimes ago when I connected on Twitter. So find genuine. If you have those links, please use them. Be persistent from the first email till you are admitted. Now I want to give this analogy. Let's say as a guy, you're asking a girl out. You are always very persistent about it, right? If you genuinely like that girl, you're gonna apply pressure. You know, guys, you're gonna apply pressure till she says yes. So use that same idea while pursuing your own goals as well. Be persistent from your first email till you get admitted. Read research papers. I can't overemphasize it. Because when you read research papers, it really kind of helps you to develop your research skills, to know the kind of questions to ask, right? Research questions to ask. And it kind of helps you to know people that are doing something similar to what your professor is doing. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're a civil engineering student, right? and then you read a particular paper on, let's say, road construction, a particular professor that is so good in road construction, right? And then you see that this professor collaborated with 4 other professors from different universities. Now, when you email that professor, that one paper that you read, you email that professor at University A, right? And then you talk to the professor, you guys are already talking. You can also email those other professors in other schools that you've read this paper, you're interested in working with them as well. That's using one stone to kill 4 birds. You understand? So you don't have to like read so many research papers. So when you pick a research paper, there's an high chance that they are collaborators from other departments as well, from other universities as well. So it's that same type of email that is sent to other people. So that, that helps you. So it saves you time of reading new paper. So be genuinely interested in what that research is all about. I mean, I can't emphasize that. And talking about subtly applying pressure, if you have a new publication between the time you started to apply, right? Send that professor, I just published this particular paper on this, blah, blah, blah. If you got an award, right? Tell the professor. If you went for a conference, right? Or you made a presentation at a conference, tell the professor. Anything that portrays you as a motivated candidate, just as much as possible. It's like a seesaw, right? I mean, just throw the weight at the better aspects of your application. And again, some professors might not like too much of emails, so really understand the person you are working with. So it was an email I sent to a particular professor, and then I sent it to a friend of mine that needed explanation on how to send emails. So I just want to touch this real quick. The first paragraph, here was that professor that I told you that I knew on Twitter. So you see, if someone reads this from the line 1, first thing we will do was to first of all go to his Twitter to check if that is true. Oh, that is true. That okay, maybe let me read, other things, you understand, about this guy, So talks about, I created instant familiarization here from the first email, if you're familiar with that person or with their work. That should be the first thing. The second one, I explained, his research paper. Yeah, I explained what I garnered in his paper. And, I kind of like approached the professor like a fellow researcher, because when you get into bladder program, you are colleagues with your professor, although they're junior colleagues, right? The last email, you ask the real question of if they have, money for funding and stuff like that. I believe FAQS have done justice to this section. So talking about applying pressure, you can see from September of 2020 to April of 2021, I traded 62 emails with this professor. It talks about consistency. It's just like you're kind of like asking someone out, right? You have to be consistent, right? It's just like you want to foment a new relationship with someone that you don't know before. You want to know that person very well. So these are the kind of things that I think you should do. Also at Stanford, it was like that. Afis talked about replying email in threads. So it sort of like looks like this. And on a last note, I think you really need to go extra mile. You don't just want to do normal things while applying to graduate school. I mean, some schools that you think are not top schools can really become so difficult to get in if you don't email your professors, if you don't create good relationships, because you're just going to look like a stranger, right? I got an email right now from a school I applied to, and they said they withdraw my application. Even myself, I didn't want to like go there. It was a school that easily I could get in, but my application didn't surface. Probably they didn't even read it. Who knows, right? So I'm gonna leave you with some words by Kobe Bryant. He said, "People just don't understand how obsessed I am with winning. You have to be obsessed. Obsession is a natural thing. If you really want to go for this guy, I mean, think about why do you want to go for a graduate program? I want to make my life better. I want to get myself out of this country to a working country. I want to build on my professional, all the things that matters to you, right? To move you forward, right? Always think about them every time, right? And then he talks about obsession again. He said that's where obsession comes in. Like when you care about something 24 hours a day. My 2020 was dedicated to grad school application and nothing more. I didn't apply for a job. Maybe I graduated from school because I really wanted this, right? Some people are more intelligent than me that could juggle things together. But for me, I tried to focus on one thing at a time and try to do it as perfect as I could. I could remember waking up 4 a.m., doing GRE, doing TOEFL, trying to read professors' research and stuff like that. So they are very important. I have nothing in common with lazy people, Kobe Bryant, who blame others for their lack of success. Great things come when you put in hard work and perseverance. No excuses. On this journey, if you want it real bad, there is no excuse. You have to go for it. I know rejection is a thing. Everybody gets rejection. So that's where the perseverance comes in. When you are being rejected, you rise up again, right? The moment you give up is the moment you let someone else win. So remember that you are not the only person writing that professor. There are other people writing that professor. So you don't want to lose form. You want to make sure that you constantly let them know, hey, I still exist, so I've submitted my application, blah, 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 stuff like that. So keep yourself updated. I wish you guys all the best. We're rooting for you. And thank you very much for having me on this session. Now I can have your questions.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you so much. Yes, everyone, we need to let you know that we are greatly rooting for you. So if you have questions for Victor, I've tried to respond to some of them in the chat. If you have other questions, please put them in the chat. We would end the session soon. But before we end the session, I'm sure you have other questions for all our presenters today. Guys, if you're still on the call, I'll just ask a few questions because I'm sure they all want to know different things about you. I'll start with Dami. Dami, if you're still here, so you received the fellowship beyond your graduate assistantship. What do you think sort of stood out in your grad school application that helped you get this win? Dami, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, I think she's trying to speak.
Okay. I'm still here.
Okay, yes. Did you hear my question? So I said that you received
yeah,
a
I got a
fellowship
question.
Okay, please respond to me.
Okay. So really can't say, but then the advice was, according to my admission letter, it was stated as being one of their outstanding applicants now. So then yeah, it was called a Muriel Fellowship also. So I feel probably it could be my from my CGPA now. Yeah, from my undergraduate results. But then we all know that the whole application they wouldn't look at only that, but I feel the fellowship was as a result of that. Yeah, so let me just go for that.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing that. Just like Damia said, the application review is usually an holistic one of every material that you submit. That's why you need to give your best shot for every document that you submit. So I'll move on to we have to Mr. GRE. Tega, if you're still on the call, I'd like to ask, how many months did you prepare for? How many months did you use to prepare for the GRE? And how many months or weeks did you use to learn this quantitative concepts you were mentioning? Okay, Tega, are you trying to speak?
I do not think Tega is trying to speak, but he's still in the meeting. I am just not sure he's quite active.
Okay, right. It would once is there. So Adewale, same question. Same question goes to you. How long did you prepare for the GRE? And how many months? Yeah. So how many months did you dedicate to the GRE?
Okay. For me, because I had a break in between my preparation, I think roughly about 3 months and a half. And I think
Wow.
in my own case, it will be how much time did I dedicate to learning the vocabulary, right? And also, learning some of the tactics to employ. So for me, it was a daily thing. Every day I ensured
Okay.
to learn as much vocabulary as possible. And one thing I also ensured to do was to use a number of vocabulary flashcards and material, because some happen to be broader in scope than others and happen to explain the definitions using some fancy examples and the like. So some of them were much more clever than the others, and so it's just yeah, it was that way for me. Thank you.
That's really, really, really great. So like Adewale has said, he made sure that he was doing something daily. He was doing something daily. So I always tell people the GRE, well, to me, it is easy. It just requires consistent practice. You don't want to only practice for the GRE on the weekends when you have time. Even if you're working, you just need to dedicate, if it's 3 hours per day, 3 hours per day is enough for you to probably learn some concepts and like, but you need to do it consistently every day. And to people that ask if it is possible to prepare for GRE and TOEFL at the same time, yes, it is. Like there is someone that prepared for GRE TOEFL in 2 months. The person did not score a 340, but a very good score in the GRE. So, but if you have time, please do so. Is it really possible for you to study chemical engineering and then just shift to mechanical engineering for grad school application? I mean, how? How did you do this?
Well, you have not mentioned my name, Faida. Did you mention my name? Is this for me?
Ayokun.
Oh God, yeah. So I'm still here. I'm still here, and to answer that question, well, I had alluded and said something about this before. Currently, I work in the project engineering role, and that kind of means that I get to do a bit about engineering design, and I'm looking to actually do a couple of things in that sphere of syncing engineering design together with my basic knowledge in process design. So, I mean, I've had the past 18 months to work on projects in the energy sector in Nigeria, and I want to leverage on that to get an engineering design degree for in mechanical engineering. So that's the reason primarily why I wanted to go for mechanical engineering. So yeah, and then to your question, is it possible?
Okay, great.
Well, it boils down to doing what Victor had said and what a lot of other scholars here have alluded to, doing your due research and then checking what exactly is obtainable in the school. Yes, some schools just want you to have an associated degree. Plus, if you look at it if you look at it very well, there are a lot of intersecting courses between mechanical engineering and chemical engineering. I mean, we both have its transfer. We both have transport phenomena. We both have advanced mathematics in engineering as well. We do finite in chemical as well. We do something on finite chemical, finite element analysis. So already have a background that kind of preps me up, gives me a soft landing for mechanical. So it wasn't such a big deal for me to want to launch into mechanical for my second degree.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. I'd want us to keep our responses to 30 seconds, 1 minute, because we don't have a lot of time. And I'm sure some people in the audience would also like to unmute and speak. They like to say something. Yes. So, Victor, I'd like to ask you, so you're going to Stanford. At the time you started your grad school application, did you think you were going to go to Stanford?
Absolutely not. I mean, like, it's like one, like, I don't know, like 1 in 1,000 possibility for you to go to Stanford. I mean, if to go to any Ivy League school, really, it's like if you look at the acceptance rates, it's like 4%, 5%. That is for every 100 students that applies, like only kind of 4 gets in, you know. So I really didn't. But I just kept my hopes. I just kept my options opened. Like you know, our classification of schools that you're supposed to apply to, the top school, the you know, the competitive schools, and the safe school. You understand? So I just kind of spread it. So Stanford was like on the top. You understand? But at the point, I really kind of got obsessed with it. Sometimes around July, when I saw a particular laboratory that pretty much does what I have experienced in. And then I started sending emails. I started discussing. I remember a particular graduate student that was just finishing her PhD. I had a Zoom meeting. I requested for a Zoom meeting, and then she broke everything down for me. I really kind of, let me say, she was like the angel for me, really, because she really told me, okay, this is the main guy. If this guy tells you that you're going to get in, you're definitely going to get in. Okay, apply to this person to help you check your SOP. Talk to this person to do this for you, you know? So she was really resourceful. I mean, that's the thing I told you guys about in the presentation, that the holy grail are the graduate student. They're really going to help you. Present graduate student in that university you're interested.
Okay, great.
So
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Victor. I would also like to ask, so if you are going to Stanford first for a master's, we know that it's PhD people that usually get funding more. Master's is more competitive. Did you score a 340 in your GRE?
No, absolutely not. In fact, I really don't even like the GRE exam. Sorry. I really don't.
Would you like to share your,
I got a 303.
would you like to share your GRE story?
I mean, it's not natural.
That's
I got a 303. Exactly, in my GRE. So,
wow.
But the thing is that I think I was lucky by the fact that last year GRE was kind of like redacted from my application because they consider GRE not to be a very good test of if you're going to be able to complete a graduate school program. So now it's more, let me just say this now, it's much more difficult to get into graduate schools because most schools are dropping GRE as a requirement. In fact, right now, Stanford Geological Sciences Department have forever removed GRE from the application. So as a geology student, if you're applying for Stanford, you don't need to write the GRE at all, right? So it's going to be more difficult because how we be able to, you know, like assess 600 applications. There is no common, you know, exam that everyone took to kind of judge, you understand? So that is why you have to harness the power of that emailing, be consistent with it, read more research paper. Because for example, look at it like a job. If I'm an employer and I want to employ someone and I have so many people that I want to employ, I will employ someone that probably has an experience or that is much more motivated to work with me. So that you have to really be motivated on this path. So yeah, I mean, my GRE was not exceptional. It was not in any way as great as my other speakers, right? But I have to also say that it was not even used to assess my application. It's an holistic process, you understand? I think my most lethal weapon in my application was my statement of purpose because I wrote it for 6 months.
Oh, wow, 6 months. So you see,
exactly.
Just like Victor said, it's an holistic review of your application package. Victor dedicated 6 months to his statement of purpose. You cannot wake up one morning and write it and be like, oh, that's just it and that's it. I'm submitting it like that. I'm tired. I'm this. You need to remain motivated. Have a maybe a scholarship body, just the way you have a GRE body, that if anything is not going so well, you're able to talk to your friend about this and that. So now I would just allow 2 people in the audience to unmute and speak. So please raise your hand if you want to ask a question. If it's a question, you ask just one question, please. If you want to leave a comment for us, please do that. Thank you. Okay, I saw which hand first. So Yusuf Olanrewaju, you can unmute, please. Please keep it within 30 seconds, 1 minute. Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much. Good evening. I really appreciate the speakers on their sections. It's amazing. It's wonderful night. Thank you so much. Please, my question is, if you're applying for graduate school for a PhD, and you already had a master's degree, then you apply for PhD in the US, is it important that you write a GRE or just stick with TOEFL and apply for your postgraduate study?
Okay, thank you for that question. So if you're applying to grad school, you need to, just like we said yesterday, you need to go to the graduate school website or the department website of whatever school you're considering to see their requirements. Most times, even if you have a master's, you still need to write the GRE and the TOEFL. But it's always good for you to go to the graduate school website or department website to check for the requirements. And you can easily ask the graduate coordinators too. Thank you. I hope that I hope we answered your question that way. Akombi Tunde, you can unmute. Okay, you're not raising your hand anymore.
Yeah, I think Akombi today is not raising his hand anymore.
Wisdom's iPad, please ask if you have a question, one question.
Okay, thank you very much. My question will be directed to the last speaker, Victor Awosiji. I have quite a number of questions. So, Victor, can you hear me?
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Okay, Wisdom. Sorry, please ask one question, and you can also use the chat box and leave your questions there. A number of us will respond to it. So please ask just one question. Keep it within 30 seconds, 1 minute. Thank you.
Okay. With regards to going into PhD from BS directly, I'd like to ask: does your current job it have any determinants towards the particular field you are choosing in your PhD application? Like, for example, now, okay, let me say I study pharmacy, and currently I work as a medical sales representative. So it's quite a little bit different from what we did in school. You know, in school is all about pharmacology, pharmaceutical chemistry, rest. It's all about research and rest. But here is quite more like the business aspect of the pharma industry. So, and do you think if a professor or probably the visa officials see that, okay, this guy is more of into marketing, business, and the rest in the pharma industry, so is it going to affect my application? So, and if it would, do you think it's advisable to, like, in my CVs to adjust it to something closer to what they need, or in my LinkedIn profile? Because in my LinkedIn profile, if the professor takes my career, it's gonna be all about medical sales representative, and then a little other work experiences as a pharmacist. That is quite different from, okay, you want to go into research, maybe pharmacology research, particular drug, and the rest. Or
Okay, Wisdom, if I got your question right, you're trying to know if the experiences you have while working, does it have to tally, right? Does it have to tally with the research you're going for graduate school? Of course, really, it doesn't have to like 100% tally, but it is good if it kind of like tallies. Like, for example, myself, I've never gotten a job outside school. I graduated in 2019. I've never had a job. So even if I had a job in between, like, for example, I freelance and stuff like that, I didn't put it there because it's not important, right? But if it were to be related, I would have actually highlighted that during my application. You understand? So, like, your SOP is your most lethal weapon. You can pretty much, this speaker yesterday talked about the power of SOP. You can really moderate. You can really adjust so many things, you understand, in your statement of purpose. So it doesn't have to permanently fit. In fact, your research, the research you did in your undergraduate, doesn't have to be exactly what you're doing in your graduate school. I mean, these are two different, undergraduate is very different from graduate, right? Graduate, you're trying to focus in a particular, they don't expect you to have that level of focus yet until you get into the graduate school. They are going to train you for that particular research. But it's always good if you have an idea of what you are about to get into. That is always, professors always like something like that. That at least you can say one or two things about the research they are doing, of which you are interested in. It all boils down to interest. I can be interested in any part of geology, but it's better for me to kind of focus on what I have experience in, or kind of like similar, interest in.
Okay. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Faidat. I think you can go ahead.
Okay, great. I
But
think
it all boils down to interest. What do you say?
It's back.
What do you say?
Yeah, go on. We lost
you. Ain't hearing me? Okay. So
Victor.
I was using Mayowa as an example. Look at Mayowa. Mayowa is a chemical engineering student by background, right? But he's going for a mechanical engineering graduate research. That is even a total change of department, right? On paper, right? But his interest is really kind of like in line with that same thing. You get what I'm saying? So professors doesn't even expect you to do what they are doing, right? It's all about research. Have you done research before? What were the questions you asked? What was your methodology? It's all about the process, not the result.
So that means in
awesome.
the interview.
Thank you very much for that detailed response.
You can send me a chat.
I'm so sorry. Need to
okay, I'll add you on
move
LinkedIn.
on
Thank
to
you.
the next person. Taufik Sulaiman. Please, you can unmute. Please keep it to 30 seconds, 1 minute.
All right. Good evening. Thanks so much for this opportunity. All the speakers have been very wonderful. Most of my question have been answered, though, but the specific question I actually want to ask is, I don't know, personally, if I'm still a final year student, though, but if I apply for anytime I draft a statement of purpose, like I have a particular statement of purpose that I keep on like editing if I want to make any application. But at the time, I always feel like it's not competitive enough, despite like I can always do better. So I don't know, is this a common issue simply because of the fact that I'm most conversant with it, or I can have a scholar from here help me review the SOP?
Okay. Thank you for that question. So we had the SOP session yesterday, but I'm sure one of our scholars here will be able to respond to that in 30 seconds. So anyone up for this?
I think Victor should go. 6 months internship with SOP is a big deal.
Okay, Mayowa. Okay, I'll just take that. So you're saying if you're scared if you sorry, can you repeat yourself again? You're scared that you have not done enough, right?
Yeah, his question is about SOPs and all that. There are always times when you feel like you've written your SOP, but it's still not enough. Can you get somebody to review? How exactly do you know if you have done enough for your SOP to stand out?
Okay. Okay. I get you now. The truth is that at this point, you can't really change anything about your past, right? A funny thing is that you need to document your successes. You need to document things you've done before. Things you think are just kind of like, let's say you do the course, or you took a particular course or something like that. It's something, right? I mean, it's something. Write it down. If it's in relation to what you're about to do, write it down. You really need to sit down and really think about what have I done in the past. That's why I like to think of it in a chronological order. I check my order level, think, take time to think. Sometimes I call my friends. One of my best friends is on this call right now. I kind of call him, hey, Alpha, hey, order level, what did you do? How did I? He kind of like reminds me, sparks, that, oh my God, yeah, I did this. You document it down. My first SOP I wrote was 5 pages. At the final one I submitted. So I did this from 5 pages to 2 pages. Took me 6 months. Why? Because at some point, oh my God, I want to add this. No, this one is not going to be a killer line. no, this one, it's not important. This one is not adding any new information to this SOP. So, I mean, at the end of it all, it kind of looks like almost I have to send it to people that are in my profession to vet it for me, all right? I sent it to my mentor, who was in fact a sedimentologist, right? A university professor, to help me to vet it. At the end of the day, it was 0% error. I mean, 0 error. I used Grammarly. I made sure it's because you want to write in a level of graduate level writing. So forget about what you've done at the past. You just need to ask yourself, what have I done in the past? Document everything. Things that you think are small can actually be very big when an admission committee looks at it. So please don't berate yourself at all. Don't even undermine your successes. Your experience is unique and different from every other person. When they want to admit graduate students, they want people with unique experiences, not a kind of a pool that all of your experiences are the same. You don't add diversity to the program. So your experience is unique, and be proud of it.
Very true. Thank you so much for that detailed explanation, Victor. And I hope the person who asked the question understand. So the last person, Abiodun, please keep it within 30 seconds, 1 minute. You can unmute.
Hello. Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you.
Yeah, this is Abiodun AWA on the line. I had education background. I did economics education from Bihar, and my interest is actually in human resource management. But later I went for the master's in which is a bit related to human resources. But now I discovered that I spoke with a graduate director like 3 weeks ago, but which she actually told me that the master's is not even, they don't even reckon with the master's. They only based on my undergraduate. But she said I should send it. But now I felt that is Nigerian master's not really valuable for graduate admission in US? That is the question. That's the question number one. Because what I had a bit of experience in human resource management because I've worked as a human resource officer, head of human resource, even a branch manager of a supermarket, in which I combine the management role.
Yeah.
Please, that is my question.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. I think I saw Victor's reaction. So I don't know who wants to take this question.
Okay, come on.
Yeah, the thing is, maybe if you can help me with a summary, I kind of lost it in between.
Okay, I think Victor, can you explain to him, or you just want to respond to it? So we don't have a lot of time.
Maiwa, I think what
30 seconds,
what he was trying to say was that probably he did maybe he should repeat himself or something like that. Yes. But actually,
okay, you know what, Abiodun, please.
Okay.
Please just keep it in the chat.
Okay, I had education background.
Please just type it in the chat box. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yes, please.
So Maiwa, I think at some point he said something like masters in Nigeria is not valuable. Who says that? Well, you guys are just undermining
I
Nigeria and everything. Why? I mean, see, just everywhere you look, everywhere you turn to, there are Nigerians abroad doing PhD, masters, and are doing well. In fact, some of them are now professors in universities in the US. I don't know, one of our iSI mentors, was it Dr. Olufemi, that was talking about one guy that left Nigeria, did his MSc from Nigeria, and went abroad and become a lecturer in a university in the US. It's all about yourself. How do you package yourself? How do you package your experience? How confident are you? You can get anything you want. So please don't undermine yourself.
Because it's so right.
I agree. Nothing beats your sellability, being able to sell yourself and package yourself just out there. I mean, anybody, a bottle of water changes prices in different places based on how well it is packaged, the level, the pedigree people give to it, and all of that. So it's just about
Sure.
present yourself out there. Your presentability is key.
Yeah.
So,
thank you so much, guys. So I've shared, there's still some questions in the chat. Please, if you guys could respond to it, iScholars on the call. So there is a question from YouTube that says, people have been talking about scholarship mentor. Is it a must I look for grad students in my field, or I can look for anyone? Perhaps I didn't see anyone from my field. What do you guys think?
Well, I don't know. I'd like to take a dive at this maybe before Victor chips something in, but I would just say generally when you have someone you're looking up to or someone who has done something that you want to do, it kind of cuts your journey in half. I mean, try to look at the example Victor had given about asking questions about from people who were where you wanted to be. And then he narrowed down his shooting emails to people because he knew exactly who to go to for what. He knew exactly who to do this for what. I mean, in my own case right now, I was going to have an interview with my current supervisor. I know I had reached out to a guy in the school. Now, I was very thankful that I reached out to him before my interview because I was still trying to get into the headspace of how exactly was the interview going to go. When I spoke to him, I was charged up. I knew exactly how my interview was going to turn out even before I was done. So when I was talking to the professor, things had changed. Why? I had a handshake from someone who had gone through what I wanted to go through. I told me about the experience in his own words, but now I could just get a feel off of it. So a mentor is very important. I mean, it is your journey.
I think you've beautifully responded to that question, even with your examples. So because we don't have a lot of time again, everyone, please, we've shared a link to our feedback form. Would like to hear your comments, your suggestions on ways we can improve. What topic would you like us to have in our next webinar? How do you want it to be and all that? Please do well to fill our feedback form. It's anonymous, so please put anything you want there. Then I also have a request. If you do not mind, please, can you turn on your video? I'd love to take a shot of our beautiful faces. If you do not mind, please, can you turn on your video? And please smile, because I'm going to tell you when I'm taking the shots. I want you to smile. Show the excitement of what someone who is going to grad school soon.
You guys are so beautiful. You turn off your video. It looks like we have to mandate on your video for next section. Subsequent sessions. I mean, see the beaming faces. Oh my God.
I know, right? I know. So please, I'm about to take a shot.
Someone is angry. Why? Okay.
Someone is angry. Who's angry?
I don't know. I saw your face.
Who's angry?
I don't know. I'm not gonna call the person out. Okay, there we go. I think we're good, right?
Okay, so I'm about to take the shot. So please just say cheese. 1, 2, 3, go. Cheese. You. Yeah. Some people are not smiling. What is this one now? We're about to Japan with the abroad. Okay, let's take one more. Just one last one.
Victor, this is cheating. You are not someone wants to appear.
I'm showing you on 2 places or what? I have to turn on one.
Okay, guys. 1, 2, 3, go. Cheese. Good. That is more like.
I think Yusuf Olariwaju has been raising up his hands. I mean, for a very long time. He was a little bit angry at some point. Okay, so please, can we give him the audience? Yeah.
You can unmute someone, please. Hello? Go ahead. Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay, thank you so much for your moves. Please, I just have another question that I want to ask again. Please, while you're trying to meet someone who is already in your field, sometimes it's doubting to get somebody who will have that time to communicate with you and take your hands on the process of your graduate school, especially talking about the PhD program, where you're applying for PhD. Basically, when you're trying to write your PhD proposal, is a little bit doubting to get somebody who have time to put you through the kind of proposal that can be presentable for your professor. How can you advise somebody to go along with this?
Sorry, let me just jump in first. Mr. Hafiz, you're on this call. Please, can you take that question? He's talking about PhD proposal. I don't think you need